Riots are breaking out in the UK after body cam footage was released of the anti-white racist murder of Henry Novak. The story's massively brutal. We got details of it back in December, but now with the body camera footage getting released, people are losing it. Here's the simple story for you. I mean, it's a brutal story, but I'll give you the quick version. A young man was walking down the street when he was brutally murdered because he was white. The individuals who murdered him conspired to cover up the murder, hide the murder up, and lie about what happened. When the police arrived, the murderers, the racist murderers, told the police that the man that they had murdered, the victim, was in fact a racist perpetrator. So what did the police do? They cuffed him. When he said, "Help, I need an ambulance, I've been stabbed," they say, "I don't think you've been stabbed, mate," as he lie there dying. Now, this has triggered a lot of people. Nigel Farage issued a statement saying white lives matter. Indeed, it's a pretty bold statement, and people are rightly pissed off. The warning, I suppose, for people in the United States is this is what happens when you have a constant narrative that white people are oppressors and are evil. The police will try to arrest the man dying who was the victim of the racist attack. So we'll talk about that. We do have big news here in the United States, of course. It is the California election, but we're not going to get the results until around 11 p.m. Eastern time. So that's past our bedtime here. We will track what results are coming in. We do have some data. And Republicans are performing very, very well in California. So we'll talk about that. And then, of course, the war with Iran is heating up again, and there's reported rockets firing, landing in Kuwait, Iraq, and here we go. Beirut, it's getting crazy again. Donald Trump's pissed. He called Netanyahu crazy, who said he'd be in jail if it wasn't for him. So he's at his wit's end. We got a lot to talk about, my friends. Before we get started, though, we got a great sponsor. It's castbrew.com. Guys, head over to castbrew.com and pick up the best coffee you will ever drink, no question. We got Appalachian Nights. It's a robust dark blend formulated by yours truly. I literally made this. We didn't expect it to be our flagship coffee. I made it because I wanted it. Mixed a couple of different kind of coffees together. Said this is the kind of flavor profile that I like. Put it on the site, and we were actually promoting Rise with Roberto Jr., a light roast, and then all of a sudden Appalachian Nights took the #1 slot, and it sells like crazy. I really do recommend that you try it because it is some of the best, if not the best, you will ever have. And don't forget, in our ground coffee section, we got a bunch of different flavored coffees. We got cameos from a bunch of your favorite personalities, and we got coffee pods as well. And we got bottled water. We got bottled water. We got cold brew. Check it out at castbrew.com. Don't forget to also join us at timcast.com. Community is everything. So what does a Timcast membership get you? You will join a network of over 20,000 people, tens of thousands of people hanging out every single day, talking about the news, debating ideas. They got shows in the morning, afternoon. They got shows before IRL, after IRL. Some people have actually gotten married. So you want to wake up. You got something on your mind. You want to be a part of something bigger. We built this community for you, and you made what we do possible as members. So support our work. Smash the like button. Share the show with everyone you know. And again, join us at timcast.com. Joining us tonight to talk about this and so much more, we've got Patrick Casey.
Thanks for having me on again, Tim. Yeah, I'm the writer. I've written for Chronicles Magazine, American Greatness, publications like that. I'm also the host of the Restoring Order podcast. People can find me on Twitter at RestoreOrderUSA.
Right on. We got the boys hanging out. Tate's here.
What's going on? I'm happy to be back, and more importantly, happy to be back with the great Phil that remains.
Hello, everybody. It's good to be here today. What's up, Carter?
What's up, Phil? What's up, Tate? What's up, Patrick? What's up, Tim? Let's get into it.
Here's the story. We'll start with this from the Telegraph. This is massive news. I know it's over in the UK, but it is terrifying. Police treated stab victim as a racist while he lay dying. Officers handcuffed teenager as he bled to death after they fell for the attacker's wicked lies. Now, why did they fall for his wicked lies? Because that's the system that has been built in the West. That when the minority says they're the victim, the police default to white person bad. This innocent young man, 18 years old, Henry Novak, described as a soft, gentle soul, was walking home after hanging out with some friends, and this guy, a Sikh, stabbed him with a ceremonial blade. The family helped cover the whole thing up, hid the weapons, lied to the police claiming he wasn't stabbed, claimed he was a racist who attacked them. And so as he lay dying, they cuff him, the murder victim, as he lay dying. Now you get this. This is amazing. From inews.co.uk, British far-right agitators spark violence over Novak death. The Home Secretary has described disorder in Southampton as completely unacceptable after protesters threw bins and flares at police officers. We've got this video of the riots breaking out. And I wonder, do we have audio on this one? I think there's just no audio on it. Huh? Oh, it's just muted. My bad. He's saying, I'm peaceful, I'm peaceful. You can see the police have lined up. I won't call it the biggest riot we've ever seen or anything like that. What I will say, however, is that, guys, when you just do the simple math here, George Floyd was a known abuser. He was chewing on a speedball. He tried to use counterfeit money. He resisted arrest, and he died in the process. They found a lethal dose of fentanyl in his system. I'm sure, many people are angry that he had the knee on his neck or, in the neck area for as long as he did. But this is not a good person. And they built statues in his honor. They painted murals in his honor. They rioted in foreign countries over the death of a U.S. man. Now we have a young white kid who was murdered, and the police treated him as the murderer, even though he was the victim. And we've got what does it look like, 50 people? If this is the calculus, I'll tell you what's going to happen. I mean, there's going to be a default machine in place where police will just say, even if the white person is the victim, there is no reason to treat him as anything other than the perpetrator because of the political calculus. If a minority is injured or hurt or killed, you will get death threats, riots, and go to prison for the rest of your life. If a white person is murdered, 50 people might show up if you're lucky.
This is just another manifestation of the temperament there in the UK. You've got the Rotterdam or the rape gangs. I think it was in Rotterdam over there. And this is a similar thing. The reason they didn't prosecute the rape gangs is they didn't want to be accused of racism. Right. They didn't help this kid because they said that he's a racist and it was a racist attack. Basically, the default position is if a minority says something, you have to just accept what they say as true, and all of the consequences be damned. It is good that one of the police officers has resigned. I don't think that's enough, and it's not going to save public trust in the police force over there, though.
Yeah, the officers need to be brought to justice because it's a big counterfactual to say that had the officers at least attempted to save this kid's life, that he'd be alive. We don't really know, but the fact of the matter is that they didn't. So we should just kind of assume that, it should be treated that they're responsible to some degree for Henry Novak's death. But I think, you're right to bring up Rotherham. It's this insane mind virus that's kind of, crept into the West where people would rather have all sorts of horrible things befall them and their children rather than being accused of being racist, essentially. And, the police in the UK are totally, indoctrinated into or, trained in a lot of stuff that we would call DEI here. They might have a different term for it over there. But yeah, it's basically an anti-white way of viewing the world. And they're literally trained to be police officers in that way. Mm-hmm. So when they showed up, it wasn't just, the particular ideological inclinations of these specific officers that led them to do this. They were literally trained to be just on the lookout for racism. Like racism, that's the main thing that you need to worry about as a police officer. And Henry Novak, maybe he'd be alive today if the British police weren't trained in this insane
if they were just trained to, you think the guy's stabbed, it would be fairly easy to ascertain whether or not he was actually stabbed.
Right.
Well,
and you can tell it's a top. Tim brought up George Floyd, the discrepancy between the reaction, and it's so obvious insofar as there's pictures and countless tweets from Keir Starmer taking the knee. He was deeply disturbed by the George Floyd death. I won't call it a murder. Obviously, it was just a death. And then the reaction to the Henry Novak thing, he made it sound like it was a car accident. He was like, oh, well, this knife wandered around and stabbed this kid. I don't know what happened, but this is just a tragic, unavoidable event, as if this isn't the culmination of, yes, these DEI-style policies that the police have implemented. By the way, this is a Western issue. This isn't unique to the United Kingdom. I know people in the United States get a little bit boastful. They're like, wow, see, it's crazy over there. It's like, we have a lot of the same problems here. Keep in mind, Derek Chauvin's still in prison right now because of the same motivating factor that led to Henry Novak's death. Beyond that, the immigration. I mean, Keir Starmer and all of his cohorts in the Uniparty have just flooded Britain with waves and waves of migrants from the third world. This guy, his religion says you got to carry a dagger around with you. That should be a non-starter. If you're designing an immigration policy, maybe exclude the people that have to carry around a weapon with them to vanquish their enemies.
Let's play this clip from Nigel Farage.
We need a change in culture. Enough of anti-white prejudice. A promotion of the idea that white lives matter just as much as black lives. An end to DEI and positive discrimination, but a country that treats everybody equally and fairly before the law. This is serious. This is urgent. I fear for where our society will be in a few short years if we don't grip this and do it very, very quickly. I want to send my sincerest condolences, the country's sincerest condolences to Henry's family. I hope this is the last time a British police force operates in this way.
I don't think these people realize that the seeds that have been sown to create problems like this started 20 years ago.
Yep.
And Nigel Farage saying, we got to put a stop to this right now. It's like, yeah, maybe if you sow some seeds, maybe in 20 years you can reverse this. But you have a massive ingestion of people from foreign countries that don't like you, that will do what they can to harm you. And the problem is the political machine is deferential to these people. Politicians in the United States, like look at Ilhan Omar, for instance. She has no incentive to stop fraud in her state or in her city because the fraud is the benefit of her countrymen. Mm-hmm. She talks about benefiting Somalia over the United States. They come here to extract from us. So what happens then when the police are challenged over something like this? The politicians are going to say, listen, my voter base, my constituency, they hate white people. So act accordingly. And that's what you're going to get. You're not going to fix this because you created a voter bloc that is racist.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's like you have the systemic problem. You know, John Doyle makes this point all the time where he says you can't just ratchet back liberalism to an earlier stage and not expect the same outcome. People have this idea in their head. If we could just go back to the 1990s, you know, it was so nice back then. To your point, Tim, the seeds were already sown. Like 9 times out of 10, well, 99 times out of 100, we're going to be back in this exact same situation if you just turn back the dial. It's a systemic, everything this is predicated on is just rotted to its core. In addition to that, to your point with the migrants, I mean, you see the cultural mismatch right here. I mean, this stabber, his family was helping him cover it up. I mean, the mom moved the knife into the house. Henry Novak, it appears that he's in their like front porch area. That's what it appears to be. But we know for certain the mom hid the knife. They're discussing in Punjabi, him and the brother are going back and forth, like, how are we going to cover this up? Or how are we going to convince the police that this was, you know, he was being racist or whatever? That's a complete cultural mismatch. I mean, think about in the United States and the United Kingdom with that the culture, that shared culture that we have to a large degree. What is the reaction when one of us commits, you know, some sort of crime? Look at the Tyler Robinson case. The dad turns him in. You know, we have this culture of accountability. It's like, yes, we're kin. Yes, we look out for each other. But if you've done something wrong, you got to be held accountable for it. But in these cultures, it's not that way at all. They look out for each other. They cover up for each other. With Ilhan Omar, you know, we're scamming because we're all one team here. We're not actually part of this greater American project. We're one team inside of this, and we got to get what we can get ours, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, I related a story that I'd heard about. I think he was a Somali in Maine, was talking to the person that the congressperson and said, like they were accused of some kind of fraud or whatever, and he said to the congressperson, he's like, look, we elected you, so you need to make sure that nothing bad happens to us. Essentially saying, we voted for you, so you have to make sure that we can break the law. And that's something that's normal in a lot of places in the world. I know a lot of people in the United States don't like to hear these kind of things, but like if you go to like India or you go to some places in South America, if you get a job, the guy that gives you a job expects indefinitely you give him like 10% of your pay. If you go to India and you want to get your lights turned on, you go to the owner of the property and pay him, and he goes over to the electric company and he bribes the guy to turn the electricity on. Yeah. It's not the same kind of culture here, and culture matters.
Absolutely. There's so much that people in the first world take for granted, and not having to bribe someone to get your package from the post office is one of those things. And you talk to people. There's an interesting guy, Jayant Bhandari. He's kind of like a Mises guy, and he grew up in India, but he moved over to, I think, Britain when he was like 10 or 15. And, one of the few immigrant, examples where they're like, thank you for saving me from my homeland, basically. So he goes on podcasts and he talks about that all the time, about how, Westerners just don't know what it's like. The corruption in the third world is massive. And one thing I wanted to point out too is a lot of these third world countries, it's kind of the funny thing about Ilhan Omar talking about how she's representing Somalia. Somalia, she totally is, and that's, she's a horrible, person, shouldn't be in Congress. But in Somalia is not like a very united country. In a lot of these third world countries, they're divided by ethnic groups, even within the same ethnic groups, tribes, clans, families.
Yep.
And people forget that getting rid of that stuff in the West, getting rid of clannishness, is one of the reasons that we're able to have like what we consider first world civilization here. So when you bring in these people that they're not just coming from a different religious or ethnic background, but the clannish like mindset, people just can't relate to that in America. Yeah. That's kind of why you see this stuff here. They just immediately start conspiring to cover up this murder, and it's no good.
We don't have the clans. We don't have any kind of white clans. You know what I mean? With any kind of garb they might wear that identify each other. Just the clans aren't a thing.
And we're not calling for them to come back for that.
Well, to your point, I mean, it took a lot of time to put the lid on that kind of stuff. I mean, infamously, a lot of the Scots-Irish that came here, or even the Highland Scots, they're part of these clans, and that feuds, boiled over, and that
there can be only one.
Sort of but even that was like the tail end of it. I mean, we're talking about a system that was broken up 500 to 1,000 years ago in Europe. And so it is not dramatic or an over exaggeration to say, no, these people are quite literally 500 to 1,000 years behind the West insofar as they're still dealing with the clannishness. I mean, you were talking, in Minneapolis in the primary, they were discussing how even within the same ethnic group of Somalis that came here, this isn't my domain, Somali demography, there was two clans that diverged in voting patterns. One clan voted for Jacob Frey, and the other clan voted for the Fateh guy, whatever his name was, Omar Fateh. Yeah. So the clannishness, they're going at it even when they come to the West, like still to some degree. And congrats, we've just imported that to the United States, 1,000-year-old civilization, a civilization from 1,000 years ago.
What I think we're dealing with right now is I feel like a lot of people have checked out. And who said this? There was like a viral video where the guy said, the American dream today is to get as much money as possible to insulate yourself from the chaos.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's what I think we're seeing happen right now. I think many Americans have resigned themselves to we're cooked, right? Gas prices are really high right now. The economy is very, very bad. And there's a lot of diehard Trump supporters that are saying, no, everything's fine, but it is not fine. And I think, when I talk to regular people, their attitudes are just like, I checked out and I'm trying to just get mine before it's too late. I think the AI problem is causing a lot of this as well. Like the view that people have is the end is nigh, and they're shoving their way, knocking people overboard and trying to jump onto the life raft before the Titanic sinks.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. I think why you are seeing a bit of existentialness around President Trump. I think this is part of the reason why people do get so frustrated is because people do accurately understand that he in many ways is our last chance. I mean, I understand, it's never over until it's over, but insofar as returning America to the state that people remember it in, I think people truly do believe that Trump is the last chance. And I think that's accurate. And I do think he's doing a lot of good work in many ways, but it is true that if Trump is unsuccessful ultimately in the end, I mean, what victory looks like changes. I mean, it's a different calculation. The narrow for victory becomes much narrower. Possibly what we could extract from that will look a lot different. And so that's where I do understand a bit of the existentialness around Trump, to the point where people get extra critical. Sometimes those criticisms aren't fair, but sometimes it's like, fair enough. I get it. I mean, I do understand why people are like, this is our last chance.
Tate, you're kind of sounding like a panicking right now. I'm really disappointed. No, I agree with a lot of what you're saying, and I think what you're mostly saying is like people feel this way. Maybe that's not necessarily. It could be justified. It could not be justified.
That's why they panic so much.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's I think a lot of people have been red-pilled over the course of the last decade, and at a certain point, you realize that you're not going to get the America of the 50s back, or I guess the 90s is what the average conservative looks back to as the golden age before we kind of entered the Kali Yuga. But people do have that in mind. But I think it should be remembered that you know, when Romney lost in 2012, people were thinking, there were a lot of conservatives were like, it's over. We're never going to win another election again. So like, you know, the show is going to go on, but yeah, there is a lot of dooming out there.
Yeah, and it's not to doom to say like, oh, it's all over. It's just Trump really is kind of that core American's last stand, and I think this is why he's absorbed every patriot in the country into his coalition, and then everyone that hates him hates patriots by extension, is because I think they've accurately understood that like this is the time. This is like the
Trump
stand.
is such a like a world historical figure that it's
Exactly.
perfectly valid to wonder, in the absence of Trump, like, what are we even going to have, right?
Exactly.
And but the important thing to keep in mind is, like, you know, God willing, Trump's going to live another decade or two, and he's going to be a kingmaker in American politics, and he's going to continue. Just imagine that, like, multiple decades of American politics dominated by
Well, his parents lived quite
Donald Trump.
long, so he's going to be around.
He's
for
got great genes, and you know he's really red pilled too, because he doesn't work out. Remember, because he has this theory that the human body is like a battery; it has a finite amount of energy. So he just takes it easy. He doesn't work out. So he's got a ways to go. I think.
Well, I'll tell you what we get. We got the story from ABC News. Right now, guys, as we're recording this show, the California elections are underway. It's a big deal because the Republicans seem to be doing particularly well, Steve Hilton and Spencer Pratt. The story just the other day, burned ballots and vandalized voting center prompt investigations ahead of Tuesday's California primary. Now, this is a jungle primary, which means the Republicans are likely to advance because they are doing as well as they are, but who knows if they'll win the general. What we see from this election will give us some insights into the midterms. But the question just before we launched this segment was, what is it, what's it going to look like without Donald Trump? And I'm going to tell you my thoughts on this with Trump going after Massey, with Donald Trump being this kingmaker, his endorsements carry weight. I genuinely believe that we are headed towards, without Trump, it is going to be tribal chaos. If you think a multicultural democracy versus a constitutional republic is bad, wait till you have 7 left factions and 7 right-wing factions and everybody just disagrees. I think we are currently in a place where regular Americans have checked out and said, I need to just get mine before it's too late. Donald Trump represents the last American president. He represents the last of the American culture and tradition, for better or for worse. What I am saying is, I believe that the people who are behind Trump are the let's go America, USA, USA. They believe in this country. Mm-hmm. And there are many other people that support Donald Trump that don't care all that much. And then there's everybody else that thinks this country is evil, bad, or who cares anyway. And without Trump, I don't know what you end up with. But the faction of diehard Americans who believe in the Pledge of Allegiance and the Star-Spangled Banner, it is diminishing. And I think Trump is he's the last vestige of this.
Well, and it's actually kind of crazy how, yes, I mean, without Trump, you're looking at Jeb Bush, the Republican nominee. So we'd be, probably entering the second Democrat president in a row. Trump steps in, puts a check on that, like, very obvious direction that we were going. And you're actually seeing this reverse to a degree. I mean, there's been a lot of data coming out on birth rates and these sorts of things. And there's a lot of white pills there. There's a lot of reasons for optimism that Trump isn't just making changes at the policy level, and there's a lot of positive changes, clearly. But beyond that, there's a kind of cultural shift where I think the primary reason why, for example, you're seeing white birth rates go up is because for the first time in 60 years, white people see a future in this country.
I'm not so convinced that it's all downstream from Trump.
I think it absolutely is.
I think a lot of it is internet culture and young people that have kind of made these decisions. Not that Trump doesn't have his finger on the pulse of kind of the issues that have really plagued the U.S. the past 15 years or something, but I don't know that he's the guy.
Well, I think it's because Trump took the boot off of the neck, which allowed that environment to facilitate. Insofar as if you're entering President Hillary Clinton, insofar as that would exist, it would be a much more adversarial, much more nihilistic culture, where I think Trump has taken the boot off the net, given everyone breathing room, and it's allowed a healthier sort of culture to develop.
So I think you're right about that, but I think that the attitudes towards like right racial identity and stuff like that stuff was coming before Trump. I think that a lot of that.
He definitely. Would you agree? He galvanized it at the very least.
I think that. Yeah, I think that he did. I mean, look, I didn't have a particularly strong opinion about immigration. I didn't have the media had really kind of made the the topic something that no one touched. And so I wasn't really aware that we had the problems that we had until Donald Trump came in. Obviously, Joe Biden made it glaring and made it something that, everybody in the U.S. that was an American citizen was like, hold on. It didn't matter it really doesn't matter if you're white or Hispanic or black. It's like everybody's kind of like, yo, we need to stop this.
What's funny is because I didn't really believe any of this stuff in 2008 with the rhetoric that Obama was an existential threat to this country when the Republicans were like, he's a socialist and he's going to bring about the end. And I'm like, oh, this is the stupidest thing I ever heard. And I'm looking back being like, oh, yeah, look at that. Yeah. Look at that. That was the beginning of the end.
Oh, it's so true. I mean, I know it's almost a bit kitschy to say, but it is true. The big-haired church ladies were correct. If anything, they were a bit too conservative on their predictions of how these policy changes would have manifested. Yeah. I mean, I remember when gay marriage was legalized, the fear was, well, they might start adopting children. And it's look where we are now. And I mean, it's the most obvious example in the world. But again, this is why Trump was so massive, because what you're saying, I think a lot of people, maybe it was simmering below the surface. People would have these conversations between themselves, certainly within their families. But Trump gave people the permission to discuss these things openly, where even Trump's most vocal critics out there, like your Tucker Carlsons, like your Candace Owens, et cetera, they only exist because of Trump. Everything that we are interacting with at every level, right or left, exists because of Donald Trump.
I think you guys are both right. I agree that all of these people are downstream from Trump, but I think what Phil's saying, not to speak for you, but I'm going to do that, is basically there was this wave of opposition to immigration and anti-white discrimination. And that's kind of how Trump won, because he was like an avatar to this opposition of decades of, I mean, you could say specifically to terms of Barack Hussein Obama, but also just decades of this stuff.
Well, I mean, what do you think? What do you think had more influence on the culture, more substantial influence on the culture, Donald Trump or Poll?
It's hard to say, because I mean, so much of Poll I was on Poll before 2016, so I definitely have to agree with a large part of. Yeah. So I found it in 2012 during the time of the Trayvon Martin, George Zimmerman.
Back when B was good. Back when B was good.
Well, I found B in 2008, and even back then it wasn't.
He was never good.
I was still a new fag. Yeah.
No, but I think that's true insofar as, yes, this was emerging. It was certainly simmering below the surface. I think that was a movement looking for an avatar, and I think Trump.
I think that's right. Yeah.
I think
without Trump, it wouldn't have been as big of a kind of tidal wave. Yeah.
Yeah, where they probably would have found an avatar at some point, but Trump just so happened to be a generational figure that it just kicked it in overdrive, and now we're in this completely alternative timeline. Where even in Britain, they have hope. All across the West.
Yeah.
Even if they're again the biggest Trump critics, they have to attribute it to the fact that the United States is the forerunner of Western culture, and that Trump has changed it, and that gives them sort of permission.
But Jeff Epstein basically created Trump and MAGA, right? That's what leftists believe. Yeah.
You take a look at what Trump's base is, what he represents politically. He's a moderate. He's politically moderate. He has we call him like Bill Clinton from the 90s.
Right.
Yeah.
The fact that we're at a point in this country where Bill Clinton from the 90s is considered an extremist threat and fascist threat does not show that Donald Trump is a fascist. It does not even show that America has moved left. It shows that America opened the door to non-Americans with dramatically different moral worldviews. And if you put it very simply, and imagine you got a red balloon and a blue balloon. The blue balloon is the immigrants, and it's very small. The red balloon votes. We believe in America. We're split between, Bill Clinton and, Bob Dole or whatever it might be, George W. Bush and Al Gore. But over time, as the immigrant balloon gets bigger and bigger and bigger, it's effectively I Am Legend.
Yep.
What they ruined about that movie, and you know what I learned recently, is that they actually shot the ending properly, and then the test audience was like, we don't like it, so they're like, okay, we'll just ruin the ending. For those that are not familiar, I Am Legend, give you the simple version. Vampires are biting people and turning people into vampires. So this dude goes, I'm going to go kill all these vampires. So he goes around killing vampires. Sooner or later, he gets captured and locked up, looks out the window and notices something. Every single person is a vampire. And then he realizes, when everyone is a vampire, you are the monster. The human being who lurks while children sleep and murders them while they're at their weakest moment. He's the boogeyman. He is legend. Mm-hmm. The point is, when you open up your borders to unlimited immigration, It doesn't matter if the country's political views go left, right, or otherwise. What matters is you're bringing in people who are left, or you're bringing in people who don't care, and their only interest is get mine and burn it down. Who cares? So what happens? I go home to Chicago for the 4th of July, and they don't do fireworks anymore. I go home to my hometown neighborhood, ain't no kids playing, ain't no fireworks going off. The baseball field is overgrown and has soccer goals now. Baseball's gone. When I was a kid, they had four baseball diamonds, and they were surrounded every weekend morning with kids playing baseball. And that's gone now. And it's really simple. The kids are still there. People had less kids, that's true, but they're still kids. But the problem is, when you go to the city hall meeting and say, we vote to have Little League on Saturday, you get a bunch of Haitian migrants, a bunch of Guatemalans and Hondurans, and say, none of us knows or cares about baseball, so we vote no. And then baseball is gone. That is what has been happening for some time. Donald Trump is the small pocket that represents what this country was 20 years ago, what the American tradition is. It's the last vestige. I think that when Trump is gone, you're going to have what you're going to get some kind of globalist balkanization of the United States that we're already seeing. Minneapolis becoming little Somalia, where their politicians explicitly state they will extract from public coffers and send that money to Somalia. We see that the Haitian migrants in Springfield, Ohio. We are getting pockets of little miniature cities from different countries, and they extract the value from this country and send it out. That's what we will get more of. That's what's currently happening unless Trump wins.
Well, I mean, to your point, I mean, look, this is why if you took that demographic core that voted in the 1980s, you know, we saw these massive Reagan landslides. If you isolate the last election results for just white and black Americans, Trump is winning at dictatorial numbers. And that's including black Americans who like vote Democrat by like 90, 95%, depending on which year it is. So again, the actual core American population, the American population that existed in 1980 is overwhelmingly pro-Trump. Who is the counterbalance here? Well, how are Democrats even still in play? It's immigration. It's the people that they've imported.
I think we're winning.
Total calculation. If you just isolate that actual American population that existed not even that long ago, it's MAGA all the way. I mean, it's a Republican heavy.
I think we're winning. I'll add to what you're saying. I think the reason why we saw so many moderate former liberals become conservatives, like how is urban liberal punk rock Tim Pool as a kid skateboarding now voting with Republicans and considered to be conservative? It's not that I'm conservative. It's that I am the traditional American liberal, and Trump is the traditional American moderate, and conservatives and liberals are looking at him saying he represents America rather imperfectly, but he still kind of does. Yeah. And the Democrats represent the destruction of America. Yep. They represent Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib. They represent that Yasmin lady saying my hoo-hoo hurts, so I can't work and need time off. And we're like, this is just getting absolutely crazy. California, Karen Bass was a communist who went to support the communists in Cuba in the 70s. Lord help us, this is insanity.
Yeah.
And that's who's trying to take power politically. But I will say this, I think we're winning. I think the crushing of USAID, I think the redistricting, I think the moves being made by Trump, and we're going to get into this, but Bill Pulte being named DNI, let's go. I got a lot to say about that. Donald Trump is basically saying, I got a sledgehammer and I'm going to use it. Does it mean it's a guaranteed victory? No. But the fact that the DNC is broken in debt and Democrat donors are funding insurgency shows they know their power will not come through American institutions. Republicans are winning on that front. So I would not be surprised if come this November, Republicans crush the Democrats. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not saying they will, because historically, there's very little reason to believe the Democrats won't at least have some victories. But considering the fact that donors aren't showing up, money talks and BS walks. So right now, with redistricting and the current change in the polls, I believe the swing is 210 Republican seats versus 207, or is it 206 Democrat seats? Democrats have to win substantially more toss-ups to take the House. They're not going to flip a Republican state. That's insane. The idea that Democrats win every state and flip Texas or Alaska is crazy. Maybe, but I doubt it. And now Maine's in jeopardy because Graham Plattner is a sex pest Nazi, and even the Democrats don't like the guy.
Yeah.
So Democrats are in chaos. Trump is getting these procedural victories across the board. Yep. The challenge right now is the economy sucks, gas prices are too high, and everybody knows it. But there are a lot of people that say, listen, there are a lot of people that are diehard for Trump that are just going to say, shut up, everything's great, Trump must win. And I get that. And that's why they rejected Massey. Because Massey was more of a principled guy and a realist who would say, no, we can't spend money that way because of the deficit spending will be nuclear for the United States. We'll be spending more on interest. Trump's plan, you can't do it. And my attitude was, with all due respect to Massey, because I do like him, he's a friend of the show, we will not exist as a country. Right. And you're basically saying we have the death of the nation by choices A or B. And I'm like, well, if we choose choice A with Trump, it's a little slower than choice B. And maybe if we choose A to try and stall the decline, we can pull out of the tailspin and maybe recover something. But if we go for the sit back, do nothing, and let Democrats run roughshod of the country, there won't be a country in 4 years.
Yeah. So
everything I'm seeing Trump doing, I say is imperfect. But I understand. And I'm going to throw it out there on the Iran stuff. We got to get to the Iran stuff, but I want to talk about Bill Pulte in a second. Trump moves in on Venezuela, takes control of the largest oil producing country in the Western Hemisphere, probably the world, outpacing Saudi Arabia, surrounds Cuba, goes to war with Iran, cutting off China and many other countries from their oil imports because the Strait of Hormuz is closed. We see this yo-yo effect where Donald Trump says, we're going to have a deal. No, we're not going to have a deal. We're going to have a deal. No, we're not going to have a deal. And I'm just sitting there being like, homeboy doesn't want a deal. He never wanted to. He knew the strait was going to close. That's why they took Venezuela, and now we don't want a deal. So a lot of people are doubting that call with him and Netanyahu, and I wouldn't be surprised. But we are now poised to be the largest oil exporter in the world. Why did Donald Trump, Hegseth, why did they blow up those narco traffickers in the Caribbean, shuffle into Europe? Because we need clear lanes for the Gulf because we are now the principal oil exporter of the world. Trump is reorienting global energy around the United States. Mm-hmm. All of this I see as a massive benefit to the existence of this country. And without that, we give away all our money. We pay for gender studies in Pakistan. We get overrun by third world migrants. Honduran farmers coming through the southern border are not going to replace middle managers. Gen Z can't afford to buy houses. They can't find working jobs. They are listless, marrying their anime waifus and becoming hikikomori and living in their basements. That is the end of America if that happens. The only thing we can do is reverse it. And I will say the surprising thing is, of all of the people that espouse a message that is actually pushing in a positive direction for young people, the unfortunate reality for the deep state machine is Nick Fuentes has a massive beneficial effect on young people, despite, I would also agree, a somewhat detrimental. However, young people who are looking for purpose see an angry young guy like them who wants America to succeed. And I believe there's many things wrong with Nick Fuentes' worldview. But if you take a look at what the corporate press is telling young people, you're racist, sit down, shut up, or be killed, like we see in the UK. And then you take a look at the likes of Andrew Tate and Nick Fuentes. Young people look at those guys and they feel like they have hope and an opportunity. And if you got a problem with those two guys because they also espouse other bad messages, I would say, yeah, you're right. Who else did they have? Honest question. Who is the strong, principled American who is saying we will fight for American values? I suppose Trump, but he's 80. So if you're a 20-year-old guy, if you're Gen Z, who are you looking up to as a strong guy, literal, physically strong, mentally strong, and not going to take any garbage, and who's going to tell these people we will fight on your behalf? The challenge is there's very few people in media. The corporate press is happy to ride the whole thing down into oblivion as the country burns to a crisp. But again, I don't want to be too blackpilly. I do think Donald Trump's efforts are going to pan out well. What I would add is, while the Democrats don't have much charisma on their side, Hassan Piker is the best they can do. The right's got Rubio, who's a little vanilla pudding, but maybe America needs a little vanilla pudding. That's okay. And J.D. Vance, who is a little, I would argue, above average in the charisma factor, but ain't nobody anywhere got what Trump got. And we need somebody who got that X factor and got what Trump got. Yeah. That should be one of the most important things we do right now, because I'm going to tell you, J.D. Vance don't got it, Rubio don't got it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, to your point, this is why everyone is like evaluating alternatives, especially young people, et cetera, et cetera. But what Trump's demonstrated time and time again is that he is not just the most viable political vehicle that we have for our ideas, but he's the only viable political vehicle that we have for our ideas. Insofar as he's the only one winning elections. Like, everyone's like, oh, Thomas Massey this or such and such, you name it. Well, none of them can win elections. None of them can fundraise. None of them can actually excel in politics in the way that President Trump has. And that's crucial. I think that's why, going back, it's the most viable political vehicle we've had. To your point, I mean, we're having these conversations insofar as like, oh, victory is actually within reach. Victory is within vision. It's we can reach out and touch it. Like, we're really close. To your point, I mean, I wish that without mass migration, then you and me could be going to the mat right now on abortion or something. But we have to deal with these existential threats.
yeah.
Trump is the guy.
You know what really irks me on the abortion thing is just that I would consider myself to be the traditional 90s Democrat pro-choice. I think abortion is wrong. I think it's bad. It should not be used as contraception. There should be limits on it. But I think there's going to have to be some type of legislation for when it actually is a medical event. And so I don't like the phrase pro-choice in that regard, because it's used by the left for the stupidest of abortion arguments, abortion to the point of birth, for any reason, for contraception. All of that is nonsensical. But the most annoying thing is just how annoying's not the right word, but it's frustrating how unlearned and ignorant progressives are on the issue of abortion. They have no idea what they're talking about at all. I watch these videos all the time. I watch these debates. I watch these progressives try to argue it. And I'm just sitting here being like, I really do think when I hear their arguments, they are nihilists who want to burn everything down for no other reason than burning things is sometimes fun.
Well, they believe
And being anything but a conservative, whatever the opposite of a Christian conservative is to them, they view that as good. So it's, abortion isn't the main political issue for me, but hearing about progressives or even a lot of liberals now talk about it versus how, just kind of like the Clinton line, safe, legal, and rare. Like that's obviously not, fully in line with Catholic or Christian theology. But these days, the way they talk about it, it's like they're almost like gleeful. I think it's like a good thing to have one, and it's pretty sick. But
well, the thing that really kind of solidified that exact perspective in my mind was the whole Michelle Wolf shot your abortion thing. Like in the 90s and stuff, it was fairly compelling to be like, well, we wanted to be safe, rare, and legal. The rare part was something that they focused on.
Right.
And then, after 2000, 2005 or whatever, it became, the left really got control of the narrative building machine in the United States. And they really started to be like, well, we should celebrate this. This isn't something, we don't want women to feel like they shouldn't have got one.
Yeah, they didn't want there to be any stigma on killing an unborn child.
And so, killing an unborn child. So that the whole shout your abortion, celebrate it and stuff really just, it was so ghoulish. And I had a conversation with a girl that was very, very pro-choice. And I was like, look, generally I'm fairly pro-choice as well myself, but you're not going to convince people that you actually believe in protecting women when you're doing things like this, right? You're going to come across to people as just straight up ghoulish. That's what it is. It's like the dictionary definition of ghoul is someone that celebrates death, and it's like
right.
you can't articulate this kind of celebration of abortion and not come across as just incredibly cold and incredibly have no regard for human life.
What's that movie with Woody Harrelson and I think he's like a Marine? Him and this other guy they have to inform people of the death of their husbands and sons in war. I've only seen clips of it.
Yeah, I know what you're talking.
But man, this is what I think one of the challenges we have culturally is that we are permanent children. The fact that there are, God, could you imagine? Just look at the 1950s where dudes in their 20s looked like they were 50 and their hands were calloused. And today you got these Nancy boys who they can't accept being bald, so they just wear hats 24/7. They never dress up. They complain on the internet nonstop. They got soft, squishy hands. Can you believe? They have no family until they turn 40.
Yeah, it's unreal.
And I'm being self-deprecating on purpose. The audacity, because I don't want to insult other millennials who are in the same position as I. Joking aside about my silly beanie or whatever it is that I'm doing, the family thing really does hit that we were children for too long. It's fascinating. I see this image. I saw a picture on Reddit, and it was like 6 generations of women. And because all the women had their first kid when they were 18 or 19 years old, which is a little bit young. It is, because the average age, I think, was like 20 or 22 historically for humans. But 18, 19 was not unheard of. You were an adult. You were out of high school. You were a woman. You married your high school sweetheart. You had kids. He got a job. And so you've got a great-great-grandma, a grandma, a mom, a daughter, and a baby. And it's like, it's crazy that today millennials are just straight up not having kids and they're acting like permanent children. And so what happens is, to that point I bring about that clip where, You know, I forgot. You guys probably know what the movie is, and you'll say it in the chat. But there's like they get pulled over, and then the cops like, you were speeding, and they're like, we need to go inform a mother that her son died, and he's like, yeah, well, you shouldn't be speeding. And then I forgot the actor, but he says, you know what? Why don't you do it? Why don't you go tell them, so that and take your time. That way, maybe they hear about it on the news first, and then you can greet them. I see a story like that, and you understand the nature of reality and what it means to be a man, what it means to be a human, what it means to be a mother, the true suffering, the hardships in the world that are ignored by the majority of squishy cookie dough millennials who've never seen hardship. They grew up with snowplow parents who made sure that everything was safe. And it's fascinating that millennials, we talk about how when we were kids, our parents would ground us from the house. They'd say, you're ungrounded, like you're anti-grounded. Don't come home until the street lights come on. We'd go play in the mud. Today, kids, there was a 10-year-old kid who was walking to a Dollar General 1 mile from his house. The police picked him up and arrested the mom for negligence. That's where we're going because we live in a society where people are permanent children, terrified of everything. And I think this does not bode well for us. You get Antifa, you get ICE riots, you get this stuff because these people do not know or care. I'll put it simply. I think it's fair to say that there is a general empathy an individual without children can have to understand what it would mean to someone to hear that their child died. So before I had my daughter, I understood it was painful. I understood it was one of the most horrifying things. I watched a video where a dad was holding his son who died, I believe it was a car accident, and he's wailing like it's haunting. This man is holding his son who's dying in his arms. I empathized, but I did not feel the same thing. Now I have my own daughter, and now it's internal. So it's not just me trying to be like, I understand that you're in pain. Now it's like the real fear of what if something happened to my child. And I would just say the murderous rampage that I would go on should someone harm my child, the whole world will pay. It will be devastating, the likes of which no one has ever seen. That is the emotion that I have within me. There are millennials, and I believe many of them, who don't have the capacity for empathy, nor do, and it's not just, it's also Gen Z, nor do they have the understanding, because they don't have kids, of what that would be like. So when Laken Riley dies, they don't care, and they tell you to shove it. When Henry Novak dies, they don't care. They tell you to shove it, because they do not have empathy for you. They think you are evil. They think you are white oppressors. And they don't understand what it means to have a strong emotional familial connection. And so what we end up with is we end up with a generation fighting to burn the country down, and they mock you as your loved ones die. Like when a guy sitting in the stands cheering on Trump gets shot and killed because somebody hated Donald Trump, and then these liberals, progressives, they go on their show and they laugh about it in your face. Now, don't get me wrong. There are some conservatives who do it too, but it's a generality on the left and a tendency on the right. That's what terrifies me about the current state of politics in this country.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of truth to that. And it's really no secret that the demographic that votes left most consistently and in the greatest amount is unmarried, childless women.
Women, yeah.
And I think what you have there is they end up their maternal instinct ends up that should be directed towards children is projected onto the third world masses that are trying to come into the country, and so like refugees basically become their kids, and it's a very, very sick.
I think it's even deeper than that. Is like, yes, they see these third worlders as their kids, and then their kin, right? Like their ethnic, cohorts, white people. They view them as like a pesky brother or like a cousin, like a relative that's kind of like
right. I
think it's like a double prong thing going on there.
That video, you see the women of those female members of Congress being like, my period hurts, and so I should get paid time off. Oh, I'm not exaggerating what they said.
No, I believe you. I haven't seen it though.
But the funny thing is, like, it sounds laughable what I just said, but that was I'm paraphrasing literally what they said. Now I can say it in a more disrespectful way, like a bunch of whinging, naggy ladies complain their hoo-hoos hurt and they don't want to work anymore. Right. But what they did was they held a press conference, and she said, my menstruation hurts so much I should get paid time off. And I'm just sitting here thinking, like, we have become a nation that has demanded of all able-bodied people We do labor. We give up a portion of our time and energy for the fringes of the minorities. Now, I will say this with the utmost respect for those that are paraplegic or quadriplegic. I sympathize and I am sorry for the injuries or the conditions that have led you to be wheelchair bound. But that's about 1.5% of this country that is wheelchair bound. But we have mandated 100% of public accommodations must be constructed in a way that cater to 1.5% of the population. That is an absurdity to me. We should not be a nation or a culture that caters to that literally will allocate funds and development for all constructs over 1.5% of this country. And you know, it's funny. The Democrats like to say something like, you know that there's only like 0.3% of the people in this country are trans. Why do you care so much? Yeah. And my response is because of that 0.3, that's your number. I think it's less than that. We've mandated 100% of businesses create new bathrooms. So you were asking 325 million people to adjust the economic position of this country for something like several thousand. That's why I care. Y'all are nuts. We are wasting energy, resources in this because of this. If somebody in a wheelchair wants to go into a building, they should plan for themselves how they must, because they are the outlier in the circumstance. We should not make it incumbent upon the entirety of the country to accommodate accidents, injuries, or the fringe minorities. It's insane.
It's always funny when the left says that about trans people, because I remember as a millennial, kind of like an old head moment here, even when I was in college, I couldn't have told you the difference between like trans, like a cross-dresser, like is that just like a gay guy in a wig? And I mean, the red pill is like basically, yeah, that is what it is. But like obviously the left like has this whole methodology for how these things are different, but like no one would really know what like a trans person is if it weren't for the left shoving this stuff in our face for the past like not even 15 years, like the past 10 years. It's a relatively recent thing.
It reminds me of like how much.
So, and then they're like, why do you care about this so much? Why do you think about this so much? It's like, dude, you're making everyone think.
You asked me to.
The best reason for people to say that they care about this stuff is because eventually, and people will say, oh, no, this would never happen, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But eventually, as people that come from the internet and are familiar with like 4chan and stuff, eventually they're going to say you're bigoted if you won't date a trans person. And then
that's where we've been.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is it'll become the norm where everyone makes an argument.
That's the left.
Only the people that are furthest on the left say that you're a bigot if you won't date a trans person.
I would bet you that we got a Polaroid of Kyla on the wall there. I'd be willing to bet she would disagree with you. I'd be willing to bet she'd say something like, but trans women are women. When I asked her what a woman was, she said it was a feeling.
Yeah, I had a massive problem with that. She makes the argument that she's like, no, I'm a normal Democrat and the woke people have caused problems for the Democrat Party and blah, blah. She makes that argument. Yeah. And then she goes and she makes all the same arguments that the far left makes.
So we have transgender liberals saying that the left has gone too far, basically.
No, she's not transgender.
She's not trans?
No.
Oh, okay.
But
I have no idea who
the point that I'm making, like, the things that are extreme or on the farthest left, when the left is in control or when the left is basically writing the narrative for the country, that stuff becomes mainstream. And if you are a bigot nowadays, if you're a bigot, like we were talking about the stuff in the UK, excuse me. Being a bigot is basically the worst thing you can be. It's worse than being a criminal. It's worse than being a murderer. Yeah. So if at some point in the future you're going to be considered a bigot because you won't date a trans person as a straight man,
right?
Like that's something that all of society has to worry about.
Let's jump to this story from the Washington Post. And my friends, let me tell you this. This story is hopium. If you're a Trump supporter, the news I'm about to deliver to you should make you jump up on your table and start tap dancing with excitement and joy, because it's looking like we're about to get some big victories. I know Roseanne said she wanted military tribunals, but we just weren't getting it. Well, Donald Trump has appointed a new acting director of national intelligence. And ladies and gentlemen, it is Bill Pulte. And you want to know why this is tremendous good news? And you want to know why so many people are freaking out, from neocons on the right to liberals and progressives? Because Bill Pulte is a guy who meets Donald Trump. Donald Trump offers him a job as the head of housing finance. What is it? FHSA or whatever?
Yeah.
They probably mentioned it in here. And look at this picture they got him. They got to get
looks serious.
the worst picture. But you know what? I love it because he looks like a bulldog.
Yeah.
Here's what I got to say about Pulte. Donald Trump said, we want accountability for these corrupt political forces that try to destroy me and you, our supporters. And what did we get? You know, we got the Comey indictment. But here's the funny thing. The most vicious in Trump's appointees was Pulte, who, as just a housing director, got several criminal indictments over mortgage fraud. So everyone's sitting around wondering why it is that we are not getting indictments of clear for these individuals for clear criminal activity. And the best we can get is Comey because he put seashells on the beach. And then they say, and is this the best we can do? Mortgage fraud? People who have to legally claim residence in their state were claiming residence in other states. Now, don't get me wrong. Good find on Pulte's part. With the limited position granted to him, he found those crimes and said criminal referral.
Yeah.
I am extremely excited over what he will do as director of national intelligence because he's going to be like, he's the guy who sits down and Trump says, I want action taken. Get me these indictments for these crimes. He's the guy who says, I will find you every page in every book of every actionable crime and evidence. He got mortgage fraud indictments. What do you think he's going to do as DNI?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, there was a story in Reuters a few months ago where the inspector general was complaining because he kept bypassing him to like start jamming. He jammed up Eric Swalwell for like a few months. I mean, this is a guy that he's just like, okay, like, does anybody really care about the housing, whatever his title is? It's like, no, we elected Trump for a reason, and he's getting after it. And so, yeah, I agree. You know, everyone's like, well, he never was an intel officer. And it's like, who
cares?
honestly cares?
FHFA, sorry, Federal Housing Finance Agency. And they choose this photo of him looking so gruff and furrowed brow. And I know Bill, and he's a regular dude. You hang out with him. He doesn't always have this gruff look. But they are losing their minds over this, and they know why. They know that if Donald Trump says to Pulte, go through the files, find me the crimes, find me the evidence, he's going to get it done. We're going to, like, listen, the mortgage fraud stuff was interesting because it's real, but it's often overlooked. So you have these people, there was Schiff, there was Letitia James, but basically the gist is this. You got a person who is legally required to live in the district or state or city they represent. But they were filing mortgage loan applications claiming to live in other jurisdictions to get favorable interest rates. That's mortgage fraud.
Yeah.
Pulte found that.
Yeah.
He found it. He looked through the files. It's actually terrifying him being DNI and getting oversight to all of these files and paperwork on people.
Well, and he's cutthroat too, because if people remember the original Comey story, it's been months now, as people may have forgotten, is he actually, the Eastern District of Virginia, the attorney that was going to prosecute the case, got ousted, and they brought in a different attorney. That was Pulte. It wasn't Trump. It wasn't, whoever. Trump was just giving the directive, say, just do what you need to do to get the job done. He's like, I don't have time to be dealing with this right now. Go get the job done. And Pulte said, yes, sir. And he was the one that actually got Siebert ousted from that attorney position. So, like, this dude is cutthroat. Again, there's that Reuters article where the inspector general's like, he keeps bypassing me. It's like, because, dude, just get out of the way. You're, like, impeding our patriot moment here. And, look, again, people are going to pearl clutch, oh, he has no experience working in intel. Again, who cares? Like, Pulte's here to do a job. Fair enough.
Yeah, I think Trump just wanted a loyalist. I think Tulsi Gabbard probably did a reasonably good job, but at least the stated reason was that her husband has cancer, so she's stepping down from that. And Trump is probably like, okay, who's loyal to me, who can do a decent job here? So I've heard people say that DNI is actually not the most important position.
Yeah.
I'm not too familiar with like the day-to-day stuff. I don't imagine we'll hear too much about what he's up to. But at the very least, I think he's probably just like a solid loyalist to put in the position.
Well, and he's
Absolutely.
and he's retaining his housing role. That's what people are missing.
Yeah.
He's retaining his previous position while also being acting DNI director. I mean, again, is he going to be using like, draconian measures to jam up guys over mortgage fraud? No. To your point, I think the main reason here is he's like, okay, I need someone to hold down the fort until we can find a replacement. Pulte steps in here. But again, we saw with Blanche, Trump just makes an upgrade, gets a loyalist, and it turns out, go figure. When you pick
Blanche
loyalists,
is very solid.
you pick loyalists, and they start cooking. Go figure.
I was whinging like a little bitch on this show because of the Newark ICE protests, being like, why won't they do anything about this? And then Blanche did something about it. And I was like, I stand corrected.
Yeah, I mean, I remember, even this is kind of a common line that people will say on a lot of different conservative shows where they'll even say, like, following Kirk, like, nothing was done. And it's like, okay, yes, we didn't get the high-profile arrests that I think people were anticipating. But again, if you start combing through what actually went down, what the DOJ's moves were following the Kirk assassination, I mean, they got Antifa listed as an FTO. I mean, people don't quite understand how massive that is. Not just the fact that it's like a name we've given them, but now that gives the DOJ the abilities to go after anyone that they suspect is aiding Antifa. Like, imagine if there was some guy in Detroit and he was pledging allegiance or saying he was supporting Al-Qaeda. He would get his phone tapped. They would comb through, make sure everything's up to snuff here. If you're aiding or supporting Antifa in any way in this country, you are now on the scope. You are now on the radar of the DOJ.
Let me read this. I love this. Wapo says, Pulte's appointment was greeted with alarm by Democratic lawmakers and former Intel officials who voiced concern that his record of doing Trump's bidding could lead to abuses within the powerful but traditionally nonpartisan U.S. Intel community. That's a really funny joke you wrote there, Washington Post. Nonpartisan. That's really good. I laughed. I did.
Well, look at the second line there. Frighteningly, he's got more of a platform.
Yeah, man. I when I saw the news break, I saw ALX tweeted it, and I just started busting out laughing, being like, "Wow! If Trump made Pulte the AG, it'd be Let me put it this way. I'm an ish talker, right? I come on the show and I'm like, man, if they put me, I'd be arresting people up. No, he actually will do it. He actually will do it.
Blanche has been arguably the biggest upgrade thus far. It's actually kind of almost a blessing in disguise where, when things got a bit rocky, all the people that were 1 foot in, 1 foot out in Trump just immediately bailed. And like, you basically just shook off all the panicans. And there's something to be said about that because now the current mood in the Trump administration is max loyalty, right? Like, we need max loyalty. If there's a position open, we're just putting someone in that we know is going to be loyal. And what's ended up happening is you're just getting really effective guys put in all these positions. Because again, one criticism people have of Trump, and this has been true since the first term, is sometimes some of the appointments are more political than they are just like to carry out the agenda.
Yep.
In an environment of max loyalty, you're forced to pick guys who are like, yeah, Trump, I'll get the job done. You tell me what needs to get done, I'm on it. I'll move heaven and earth to get it done.
What do we do? How do we get the next Trump?
You have to have someone. It's not tangible. It's not something you can actually say. You can find. It
would just happen.
Yeah.
No. Hold on. Like, I agree with you. The idea is, if it exists, it needs to be found. That's the point, right?
Maybe it's Spencer Pratt.
Well, that's actually an article that was written, I believe it was today, that it said the biggest threat to J.D. Vance is Spencer Pratt because he's got kind of that X factor. I don't know that he's got what Trump's got, though. See, the thing is, Trump also is weirdly shaped. You know what I mean? Like, he has that forward lean, and he weighs like 230 pounds, and he's 6'3".
Well, it's abs, but then he's kind of got a weird posture. That's what
Actually, there's a meme about this. I'm not going to bring up to the after show, but
Yeah, I think we can all know the anatomical proportions involved here. No, I mean,
Everyone's seen that one.
Yeah, I know. And there's something to be said. Like, I think why people are saying Spencer Pratt reminds them of Trump is not policy. It's not really anything outside of. He has this ability on the debate stage that we haven't seen since Trump, where you're watching it and you're hearing these two clowns talk. And then Spencer Pratt almost like includes you in on the joke where you're watching and you're like, these people are crazy. And then typically what happens in these debates is the Republican gets up and he goes, well, this is why, they've failed and we need to cut taxes or whatever. Spencer Pratt just gets up and he does like that and everything. Yeah. And it kind of reminds you of Trump. It's not the next Trump, because there will be no next. That'd be like saying there's a next Napoleon. It's like, no, but you can find someone that can fill that vacuum. I think that's the better question.
You know what I think it is? And the reason why there may not be a next Trump is that Trump is an avatar of a movement. He's boisterous, he's charismatic, he's loud, he's got gravitas, he's got name recognition. He's tall, he's a large man, he's commanding.
His aura.
The issue is, Joe Rogan commands a large audience. Massive, they're big fans. There are a lot of people that, are just diehard for the guy. But he certainly does not have the following that Trump does. I don't think anybody in the world does. Donald Trump has, what is the estimate? It's like 50 million people that are ride or die for Trump in these elections. So he wins these elections because there's moderates who shift right and there are conservatives willing to vote for him. But he has this massive base of people who are like, I'm going to agree with him no matter what. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't say all of those people are culty. A lot of them are culty for sure. The issue, I think, is that there's disparate cultures in the United States. There's no unified national culture anymore.
Yeah.
So how could there be someone like Trump to rally a large group when all of the ideas are so dramatically different? Trump was able to convince Dave Smith to ignore Miriam Adelson in the 2024 election. But it's true. I'm not trying to disparage Dave.
It's true.
Dave endorsed Trump at the time because he was more hopeful over what Trump was representing, despite the fact that Miriam Adelson gave Trump 100 or allocated 100 million towards his reelection, benefiting him, with some reports saying she did it because she wanted Israel to annex the West Bank, which flies in the face of what Dave and many of these Israel critics believe, but he was willing to get behind him regardless. And I don't think Dave was unaware of what was going on with Miriam Adelson and what Trump's campaign represented, though he does regret it now, that I understand. Trump was able to get libertarians to push aside some of their core values for what he represented. I don't know if that's possible moving forward.
Well, because libertarians are like masochists, like they enjoy losing. And anytime that they can sense that their policies, because Trump, I mean, if you're a libertarian, no one has extended more political victories to you in your entire life than Donald Trump. I mean, just
Ross Ulbricht.
I mean, we point out the fact that he's cut all these federal workers, he's gutted U.S. aid, et cetera, et cetera. So it's like they're throwing their toys out of the pram because they're not. It reminds me of the pro-life lobby. The pro-life lobby does this too, where Trump has delivered you the biggest victory of your lifetime with like getting Roe v. Wade overturned. And then they're like still nitpicking because these people, all these other people that have been included in this coalition, so to speak, they thrive off of being contrarians. And as soon as they start realizing, oh, actually I'm in power, that makes them uncomfortable because it's no longer sexy, it's no longer edgy. They can't Monday morning quarterback anymore.
You know what it is? You know what it is? Americans, I think people in general, but because I'm an American and I look at American culture, we're addicted to pain. I go on X, and you know what really annoys me is periodically it will switch my feed to the For You feed. So I'll like open up X and I'll be seeing all these tweets and my brain will be lighting on fire in overstimulation and anger. And the reason is every tweet will be like some political pundit saying something psychotic, like Kyle Kalinske. That dude, I just mute him because he's just become psychotic. I cannot, for the life of me, stand any longer seeing Candace tweeting at, Erica Kirk, and then, Kyle Kalinske tweeting at Joe Rogan. And the entire feed is just people, imagine you walked into a McDonald's because you were like, man, you know what? I just want to get a big arch. I mean, it's so big, I don't even know how to attack this thing. But you walk in the door and it's just 12 people staring at you going, ah! The whole time you're going to be like, I'm going to leave. That's what it feels like. And then I look and I'm like, why is it on the For You? And I swipe away and it's all back to normal. My normal following feed, it's Reuters and CNN. And there are sometimes antagonistic posts I see from people I follow. My point is, why is it, Kyle Kalinske is a really great example. I praised Kyle in the past because he was in this debate and someone claimed that Carl Benjamin was like a neo-Nazi or a white supremacist. And Kyle said, stop. Carl is not a white supremacist, okay? And I saw this clip from Kyle and I was like, oh, he's a good dude. He's a progressive, but he's not going to lie about Carl Benjamin, who's a friend of mine who has real values and beliefs. And he said Carl believes these things. He disagrees with this, but he's not a white supremacist. He's not racist. And then I was like, Kyle's a good dude. And I praised him quite a bit. Now the dude cut his hair off, bleached it, and all he does is post on X the most psychotic, vile things you can imagine. And that's what, and Crystal Ball too.
The way that Crystal Ball and Kyle have just talked about Joe Rogan, when he gave them a platform, he was totally respectful, totally cool with them. And then they just, just totally slime him every chance they get. They're just dishonorable people, and they have no redeeming value, in my opinion. Kyle Kalinske he doesn't say anything insightful. He's not an intelligent guy. He doesn't say anything that's beyond the boilerplate left wing kind of narrative. And he's also just a kind of a bad person.
I got to tell you guys, I think the X algorithm is trash, and I don't know. I think Elon needs to consider this, but the problem is everyone's addicted to pain. So the X team looks at the algorithm and says, how come we don't get the same kind of traction as Instagram or TikTok? And oh boy, dude, I got stories for you guys. I'm freaking out. Okay. So real quick. So the X team presumably says, we need to push people to the algorithmic feed that shows them the things they're more likely to engage with. And what is that? Vile, psychotic political conversations. Now, I follow a lot of poker and skateboarding on X too. Poker's actually really big on X, and I'm happy for this because X needs non-political things. And even that is all just nasty stuff. Like, people just insult each other the whole time. So here's the thing. I have a post, and I was making fun of Claude. I said, I'm not a big Claude user, but holy F, was this hilarious. The extent of its image generation. I asked it to make a picture of a family, and it made what looks like a child's attempt at using like a vector graphic program. And it's like, I can't make images, but I drew this vector graphic for you. And I thought it was hilarious. It gets 10 retweets. I have 2.6 million followers. It gets 10 retweets. Now, of course, people might say, well, I don't want to retweet that. That's fine. The issue actually is, and everybody knows this, it no longer recommends posts you make that are not going to get a certain amount of traction. This is the game with YouTube. The key with YouTube is to get as many clicks as possible in the first 10 minutes. It's the same with all of these social media platforms. So here's what's happening, right? Let me scroll down to some of my tweets that have more traction. I said, Spider Noir is great. Good show. Nick Cage is the best. 85 retweets, 124,000 views, 158 comments. I do not like using X to just quote someone and insult them and spit in their face like so many of these pundits do. But I know that if I do political things, I'm going to get a lot more traction. So on a post where I said, let's go, it's a call. She says Spencer Pratt's odds to advance in the Los Angeles mayoral race have risen to 80%. And I just quoted it like, let's go, 1.3K retweets. If it is political, and with all due respect, I'm not insulting anybody because I don't like getting into flame wars. I don't like looking on Twitter and seeing people just spam blasting. So I know that if I do contentious politics, I will get way more traction. And I do have some insults on here. I tend to. Let me tell you something crazy. So a homie of mine broke up with his girlfriend. This is going to terrify you guys. It's a horror story. So they break up. He's down in the dumps. He's talking to the homies and he's saying like, man, I cared about her so much. We were into the same hobbies, but she was just so awful to me. So we're sitting there having lunch and he goes, dude, and he shows me his Instagram. It's a black square with white text that says, she was using you the whole time. You need to get away from her. And he's like, and the username is just like some random string of texts. And he's like, this is the only thing I've been getting. Everything on Instagram since I broke up is nothing but these weird posts saying she betrayed you. And it's like, it'll be a screenshot of a Twitter, of a tweet or an X post. And it'll be someone saying like, this is what women do. You should realize it by now. So we go out to eat. And we're talking to everybody, and he's like, look, and he opens Instagram, and he just starts swiping, and all the suggested posts are women are evil, women are bad. And I'm like, bro, what is going on? Like, he's not, like, this dude plays video games. He's not into, like, anti-women content or anything like that. Now, I'm going to tell you something real creepy. And everybody's known this, and everybody's experienced this, but this one freaked me the F out. So the other day, I'm hanging out with my daughter, and she's, goofing off. And I take my phone and I'm like, I want to show her some old Disney stuff, right? I want to play A Little Mermaid. That was Disney, right?
Yeah.
And I played part of, was it Part of Your World is the song? I love that song, right? So I picked my phone up, played Part of Your World, and I showed it to my daughter, and she watched as Ariel sang that amazing musical number. I'm going to get food. And what is Instagram now spam blasting me with? Tons of videos of mothers singing Disney musical songs to their daughters or to their babies. And I'm just like, dude, my Instagram feed is skateboarding clips, poker, and like comedians. Sometimes it'll be snowboarding or skiing. Those are the things I watch. That's the algorithm that I seek out. Abruptly and randomly, for no reason, my algorithm changed. Now, I know people say, well, maybe it's because you saw a video and you sat on it. No, that's not correct. There was no instance where, so I open my phone, I go to Instagram, I click the little magnifying glass, and I just get that full feed of things, and then I select things that I find interesting. Usually it's going to be skateboarding or, the things that I'm into. All of a sudden, it's just full of pictures of women with babies, And I'm like, this is weird. I'm scrolling through and I'm not clicking any of them. I go to my home feed and I'm scrolling down, and then all of a sudden it's a woman with her baby and she's singing Part of Your World. And I'm just like, okay, now this is too much for me, dude. I'm ready to go to Meta and just like smash the computer, whoever is doing this or how they're doing it. But everyone's experienced this, you know? Where it's like you'll be sitting in a room talking about something, and then all of a sudden your Instagram feed is selling you ads on whatever it is you were talking about.
Literally something Phil mentioned last night came up on my Twitter today, or last night. I was like, I've never heard this person's name before, but now I'm seeing this randomly, just listening to the conversation.
The machine is in
I
control.
keep getting blackpeoplemeet.com ads. What's going on there? It's really.
I think some of that's based on your Google searches, though.
Yeah,
so,
I think it's just what I talk about all
So,
the time.
so is this it, right? Some might say, well, Tim, you searched YouTube for Part of Your World, but I didn't search Mother Sings Part of Your World to infant daughter, which is what I did. I just searched for the video. And then why is Instagram synced with YouTube? Are they key logging everything we do? Did you guys know that modern smart TVs take screenshots and send them to marketing analytics companies? When you are watching TV.
What's even the draw of the smart TV? Like, okay, I can watch CBS on my fridge now.
Wait, you watch TV on your fridge?
Yeah, because there's like these fridges now, and they have.
I get that,
Yeah, I
but
know.
a smart TV is just your TV.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying, like, but the smart TV in the fridge. I'm like, what's even though like things have just gone too far. I think it's true. The Goyim have gone insane because it's like, what is going? I mean, it's unbelievable what's happening. People are strapping.
That's true. Jews don't use smart TVs.
They don't. Well, it's like a Shabbat thing or something. I don't know, but it's getting out of control.
Only on Saturdays.
Yeah, it's totally ridiculous.
I don't know why my toaster is on the internet, to be honest.
Yeah.
They were like, connect your toaster to the internet so that you can make toast in the morning.
There's
Connect
this.
a Roomba to the internet. What is the point of that?
Well, that wouldn't actually make sense.
Yeah,
This is
it's
why
a
I'm
robot.
excited.
You want to be able to remote control your Roomba. I get it.
This is why I'm excited for the Palantir tech, because my fridge will be playing like Trump edits the whole time. Just fire me up in the morning, and I'll be ready to take the day. I think it's gonna be a beautiful thing.
Well, my favorite thing about the Palantir tech is that leftists who have contraband in their refrigerators will get arrested.
Yeah, literally, that's going to happen.
And it's going to be cilantro. They're going to knock on the door and they're going to be like,
Coriander.
under executive order, 19361 from Tim Pool, president now in the year
Be like
2038.
RFK, there won't be enough meat in the fridge, and they'll just send the Gestapo.
No cilantro. That sounds kind of like a woke take. I don't know.
Cilantro is woke as it comes. Literally, like the defining factor of woke is liking cilantro.
But you're both playing into
know.
the mass migration terms of the conversation. It's coriander.
That's the point. The reason why leftists are trying to import the third world is because they're trying to get more cilantro in the country.
Yeah, 'cause
And Trump is trying to shut it down because he wants less
they
cilantro.
all call it coriander.
That's why.
and
Think about the
Hart-Celler
countries.
Act.
But it is cilantro. Think about the countries that put cilantro in their food. Those are the countries that Trump has said no to.
It's true. Yeah.
Now, if it's lingonberry, you're welcome. You can come on in. Meatballs.
Does
and-
Israel factor into this in some way? I need to know.
They're not big cilantro people.
No? Okay.
Makes sense.
Interesting.
Interesting.
No, it's just
Starting to notice
Central and
things.
South America and India.
Okay.
Yeah, got to get that cilantro out of there.
Okay.
They just, not to go into this discourse, but yeah, the spicy thing, like it somehow makes me like a failure if I don't want my wings to be like burning my mouth off. I mean, it's like, I'll take the mild thing.
Spicy is woke.
It is. I genuinely believe that the spicy food.
I love
is the
spicy food,
wokest
man.
Thing on planet Earth.
The
Because
wokest
it's meant to humiliate the white man. That's what it is. Because it's like there's been so many realms.
Like an anti-white
meant to-
humiliation.
Because look, let's just be, there's so much anti-white rhetoric going on. I'll drop like a little pro in here. Like we do some pretty good things. So
Grilled
they're like,
cheeses.
how do we humiliate them routinely, regularly at every meal? Make everything spicy, make everything miserable. That's how they do it. And it's working. Every time I eat spicy food, I feel like a failure.
All the spices that make food spicy is actually intended to cover low quality food, right?
It's true.
That's true. That's true.
Covers up the bad quality of the.
Redville, yeah.
It's annoying to me when they add capsaicin to hot sauce and claim it's hot sauce. No. Real hot sauce has to come from the plant. End of story. So it's like you go to these hot sauce stores. I actually like spicy food, but it's probably because I'm part Korean and we like kimchi and we like putting chili powder on stuff. But you go to these hot sauce stores and they'll be like the hottest ass blaster. And you grab it and the ingredients are like ghost pepper. Okay. And then it's like Carolina Reaper and you're like, oh, okay. And then it's like capsaicin extract. No. Garbage. You're cheating.
Yeah.
You're just making a chemical irritant.
And
okay?
every time they interview these people that like are making these synthetic peppers somewhere in North Carolina, they're always like deeply unstable people. Like every single time. They're the same people that are just like obsessed with firearms, but not for like a base Second Amendment tradition, but just because they're like trying to overcompensate for something. It's the same overlap where it's just like, let's do the
like
faux
tattooed soy-lennials that are really into
Yeah.
it.
Soy-lennials.
Yeah, exactly. It's just the faux tough guy routine, and I'm just like,
I know. Like anybody who's got a tattoo, talk about losers.
I was referring to like the specific type of, the left.
Like Harry Potter tattoos.
like
Yeah, well, the people that are like they're really tattooed and they like craft beer, and I'm not just like hipsters generally, but like
Beard.
oh, like
and they wear like flannel, but they're not like just like super left wing. It's like a left wing. It's like people that listen to Chapo Trap House.
I know. I'm just
basically.
imagining
People
like,
who like LARP is working class.
People that
I know.
people
Kinda
that
like Grant
live.
Plattner.
I was
sort
about
of-
to say,
yeah,
imagine
exactly.
being at a craft brewery in Maine, and you're sitting across from Grant Plattner, and you're like, "I'll do the mild wings," and he goes, "Oh,
People that live. We're talking about people that live in the city but wear a lot of Carhartt stuff.
Yeah, stuff like that, and that probably applies to some of my friends here. So I guess I got to be careful with
gonna
these
get
broad categories I'm attacking, but like basically,
Plattner.
Have you ever
American.
noticed that about DC? Like DC culture has the worst culture of any place in the country. It's basically like if you want to fit in DC, you got to wear khakis and North Face.
I mean, look, we could elevate standards a little bit because some of these cities are getting completely out of control. It's like in DC, everyone's wearing a suit around, like people are running all the time.
If you're not wearing a suit, they're wearing a North Face vest with khakis.
Yeah, because I'm like a old school conservative, so I'm like, it's not too bad.
You got to just wear like a t-shirt and jeans.
I don't know. It's the Brooklynification of every major U.S. city is really getting frustrating. Where like every bar is like a fake British pub. Every restaurant is hot chicken. This is actually interesting. Like sociology is every U.S. city is usually about 10 years behind Brooklyn. So what we're experiencing now in Kansas City or something is what was going on in Brooklyn 10 years ago. Now what's in Brooklyn? It's like your bathhouses and these sorts of things. So in 10 years,
What, really?
Yeah. So in 10 years, you're gonna go to
Like gay bathhouses?
kind of. Yeah, I would say it's derivative. Yeah.
Part of Brooklyn.
Oh, like the Russian and Turkish bathhouses are in. So I think in
So
10
like,
years,
wait, millennials just go bathe together?
pretty much, yeah. So you're gonna go to like Tempe in 10 years, and it's gonna be bathhouses. It's going to be like esoteric right wing.
You're making it sound like
I'm
there's
gonna
no
be like-
choice here. Yeah.
I'm gonna be like 50, and I'm gonna be with the white people like, oh, let's go to Tempe for a vacation. And when we get there, it's gonna be a bunch of 20 and 30-year-olds being like, you want to bathe together? And I'm gonna be like, not really.
You won't have a choice.
The menu items at these Grand Platinum restaurants are brutal. It's like, you want to order a chicken sandwich, but it's like, you want to order the sloppy suck you off sandwich, and you're like, can I just do the chicken sandwich? Like, do I have to do this humiliation ritual of reading off the menu names?
You know what really irks me too is like when you go to these hipster restaurants and they'll be like the big badass barbecue backside burger,
know.
and it's too big to eat, and you're like, bro, I just want to eat some food.
Oh, and the fries come out in the mini fryer basket. They're just inferior.
And they're when they give you the thin ones, it's like, stop.
And Graham Plattner's just loving them. That's his element when he's in there. He's just loving. He's got
There's a restaurant in Arlington called Fire Ass Thai, and I always see. I've like literally never gone there entirely
No,
just because
because
of
of
the
the
name.
No. The best restaurant you will ever go to is a strip mall with those generic red letters saying Chinese. That's it. There's no name. You don't even know how to find it or tell someone where it is. And you walk in and it's Chinese food and there's a little Asian lady and you watch them do the walk right there. Yeah. I'm sick of these like, you walk down a street in New York and it's like, yeah, flaming ass Thai. And the next door it is big ass bomb burritos. You're like, stop. You know what I want? I want a commercial where literally it's just like a guy is selling an object and he'll be like, I represent Spindrift. It's a delicious drink. It's sparkling water with a little fruit juice. I recommend you try it. I'd be like, thank you, sir. I will consider that. Instead, you turn on, it's like they're trying to sell. It's that Stone Toss comic where it's like, here's our latest ad campaign, and it's a white and a black dude making out. And then the person's like, how will this help us sell cheeseburgers? And he's like, cheeseburgers?
Burgers.
Yeah, literally.
That's modern culture.
Yeah.
It's like you find a restaurant and it's called Big Ass Bomb Backside Burritos, and you go and it's a hair cuttery. You're like, I don't know what's going on anymore.
Maybe I am a bit more black pilled than I thought about America, because and then on the right, like the right coded versions of this, you go in there and it's like, welcome to the gun restaurant. You go and you're like, I'll do the AR-15 fries, and can I do the Tower 7 sandwich, please?
That's how Lauren Boebert got her start.
Tower 7
Yeah,
sandwich.
literally, and like your cup's like a hollowed out grenade. Like it's just, I'm like, can we just get a normal? Oh, the worst is the barber shops, the right wing barber shops, or the right wing coded barber shops where it's like the man's salon. You want your glass of whiskey, and I'm like,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
my hair,
I'm
please?
sorry, dude wipes.
I'm trying not to get trashed at the barber shop. Thank you very much. And also, you shouldn't be drinking. You're putting a razor to my neck.
I know that there are people sponsored by Dude Wipes that are friends of ours and the various shows that have the Dude Wipes thing. But like, bro,
It's literally a cucking ritual. It literally is.
like
well-
guys, just give them some rough single ply. Guys aren't going in there to like pad their butts. You know what I'm saying?
Apparently they are. That's
That's true. What do I know? I'm some kind of old, out of touch fogey.
I was going to say, we're hating on American restaurants here. I think it's important to remember, though, that America has actually like a great underground food scene. I've been seeing a lot of videos online lately. They do this thing, these underground chefs, where they get these containers of Kool-Aid, right? And they put the pineapple
the pineapple.
inside.
American ingenuity.
Yeah, and there's a lot of good stuff like that.
What did you think the golden age looked like? It looks like
That's the golden age. That's right, and that's the Trump effect too. That wouldn't have happened.
Yeah,
without
Crumble
Trump.
released a new drink that has like 86 grams of sugar in it.
Kool-Aid pineapples.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Black excellence.
Big back who love the snack, so let me show you how I made mine. You want to drain your pineapple juice, add some sugar, then add your Kool-Aid
Let's
packets.
go.
Add the Kool-Aid back to the jar and let it refrigerate. And y'all, I see why y'all paying $20 for this.
That's it, huh?
Okay, so I've wondered how much they're paying for these $20 because it seems to me like something you could just make super easily on your own, but people are paying $20 for those.
This is a big problem. People talk, well, what's the problems of the black community? They're like, well, it's the fatherlessness or it's the crime. The biggest problem is they're constantly scamming each other with food. Like, I don't know if you've seen what's going on. They sell plates to each other for like $35.
Yeah,
they're just constantly scamming.
Yeah, and the reason they charge so much is because it's EBT, so they're turning their EBT into cash. And
Is that what they're doing?
yeah, like a lot of this stuff, like, I mean, so I'm sure there's like some appeal of like, a local plate and like maybe your neighbor's like a good cook, like, okay, a home cooked meal that you can buy. This is me being charitable, but like, yeah, it's people cooking this stuff with stuff they bought using EBT.
Right.
So that's
do you think
remember
if we
when I
canceled the EBT, the country would just burn to the ground?
No, I think everyone would just lose weight. I think
there'd be less Kool-Aid pineapple concoction.
Nah, here's the thing. Remember when they said like no more soda on EBT?
Mm-hmm.
They had to lower and like chips and stuff. They had to lower the prices because they were inflated due to EBT.
This is why like I caught so much flack from like people on the right for this, because it's another Goyam moment. And when they were trying to push the rotisserie chicken and like allow it to be used for EBT and food stamps and stuff, I was like, this is the dumbest possible decision to make because it's so obvious what's happening here. Who was on the forefront of that? It was like Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Fair play. She's trying to get hers for Arkansas. But Arkansas, Tyson Foods and Walmart are by far the two biggest companies there. Okay, well, Tyson Foods, what's in it for them? Well, they produce the rotisserie chickens. Walmart, what's in it for them? They own Sam's Club. They own Walmart. And what's their loss leader? It's rotisserie chicken.
Right.
So we're subsidizing a loss leader. And then you had all these people who were like, well, isn't that better than if they're buying chips? I'm like, raw chicken's already on EBT. Like, what do you mean rotisserie chicken? It's sitting in plastic all day. It's filled with sodium. It's horrible. It's like,
You know what we need-
relative to
you
raw
know what we
chicken.
need?
Horrible from you.
I'm sorry, Trump is just not brutal enough. He's not. And maybe, you know what I would love to see? If after the midterms, I'd love to see Republicans win, and then Donald Trump he gives a State of the Union, in January, and he's just like, or did they do it in March? When is it? Is it March?
I think it's March, yeah.
Yeah, because it's like the historical tradition of the original inauguration. Trump just comes out and he says, we won the midterms. I have no risk of impeachment, and I only have 2 years left, so EBT is gone. We banned it outright. No more welfare. Good luck, America. And then he just walks back. I'd be like, let's go. The problem is we've got these politicians who are like, well, you can't touch Social Security because then the boomers will vote against you and you'll lose. It's political suicide. And you can't touch EBT because then you'll lose large swaths of urban voters. So we just need someone to go in there and be like, nah, I'm getting rid of all of your entitlements. They're gone. Bye. Good luck.
I mean, I remember George Bush tried this. It was like, well, the problem is he'd already expended a bunch of political capital in the Iraq War, so he couldn't get this across the finish line. But he wanted to privatize Social Security, and he got all this pushback at the time. The main opposition to it was, oh, well, it's going to cost a lot of money to accumulate all the stocks and index funds and whatever to support the Social Security. Well, looks like the dumbest decision ever, because what happened to the S&P 500 following the mid 2000s? It exploded. Like, it would have paid for itself in like 8 years, I think is what I saw the estimate was. And
now there's no people and it's insolvent.
yeah, I know. And so it's like, we could have really solved a lot of problems here. But yeah, to your point, I mean, it's the third rail of politics. Democrats, Republicans can't touch it. They tried it in France and everyone rioted. So it's like, you really just do for that, which, it's funny. I remember you have all these like debt hawk people, and I would kind of roll my eyes at them. But like the older I get, the more I'm like, they kind of have a point. Like, we are kind of screwed here. Like, it's getting pretty bad as far as like, we're having to take on quite a lot of debt to keep entitlement spending going. And it's like, okay, well, maybe boomers should just, I don't know, pick themselves up by their bootstraps. Maybe they should downsize. I know a poster put up some great photos on the border of some cheap homes that they could potentially purchase. I'm like,
I used to be very much a fiscal hawk, and I kind of got to the point where I'm like, this is a pointless endeavor.
Yeah.
Making a stink about this, like making it, consistently talking about the debt and stuff. It's like, look, no one is going to do anything about it.
Yeah, literally.
Because there is just no political incentive to actually do anything about it.
No one is more black-pilled than debt hawks. Like, when you talk to them, they're like, it's over.
It is. I mean, right, it's, 40 trillion.
Thomas Massey on
We're spending more on, or spending as much now on interest as we do on national defense, and that's going to increase, obviously. It's in what is it, 2033, the benefits have to start cutting people's benefits. Then you're going to see boomers start to freak out, and there's no young people that are going to care at all. They're going to be like, F you guys have done this to yourselves.
The thing with Social Security is, like, when we hit it, I think it's 2032 is the estimate, is when the fund that pays for Social Security will go bankrupt. Well, they're just going to kick the can further down the road, because what's going to happen, we actually had this problem, I think, a few decades ago, where the fund was running out and Congress just bit the bullet. What they did was they just allocated spending from other departments, other entitlement spending packages, and then put it into Social Security.
The boomers are going to get theirs. Yeah, they're going to find a way.
Gen X
that is number 3 right now.
Yeah.
The top 10 of the line items for the U.S. budget is Social Security, healthcare, mainly Medicaid, followed by debt. Interest on the debt.
Did you know that 2% of our annual budget goes to dialysis? 2% goes to dialysis.
I think the problem is, like, so Trump wants housing prices to stay elevated because boomers want value in their investments. So Gen Z can't buy houses because of this incongruence. Boomers are going to live for a really, really long time. How are young people supposed to buy houses and have families if houses are being retained by an older generation who no longer needs them?
Yeah, it could be solved by, increasing the supply of houses and getting rid of the illegal.
That would decrease the value of the homes held by boomers.
Yeah, I'm talking about it could make it more affordable for young people. But you're right.
But yes, I understand, and there's many ways to get housing prices down. But Trump doesn't want them to go down because he wants boomers to see an appreciating asset and then vote for him. Young people don't vote, so they should be the most powerful voting bloc because they typically outnumber the older generations. But now Gen Alpha is half the size of Gen Z, so they're going to have zero power. Yeah. My prediction is when Gen Xers, when silent generation's gone, it's going to be principally boomers and Gen X on Social Security. They will vote to tax Gen Alpha like at 100%. And I mean that hyperbolically, but they have to because the labor pool will not be big enough to fund Social Security at the levels they want it to be funded. So there will be a politician who says, young people don't need the money. They're young. They can live with their parents. They should pay a higher tax rate until a certain age to fund Social Security.
And they're going to make it even worse because they're trying to abolish property taxes. And all these states are going to have to crank up the taxes on like actual taxpayers. So that way baby boomers don't, like, because they just got tired of paying taxes on their houses. And like, it's a total bait and switch. I mean, I remember when I was like talking about this on the show, I had all these people that were like millennials or Gen X that were homeowners and like, no, I'm getting screwed too. Like, I support this. And I was like, I understand what you're coming from, but I promise you when this starts manifesting in a policy, it is not going to shake out the way you think it's going to shake out. Everyone was right back here. What did I I say it was going to be a massive give to the boomers? As they said, Nancy Mace coming out, all these other prominent GOP figures came out and they said, we're going to suspend property tax for seniors. And it's like the group that like probably needs the least relief. They should just be downsizing. And then to Tim's point, all this is going to do is just skyrocket the housing prices because, again, the supply is going to completely retract because there'll be no more, there's no more explanation or no more incentive to downsize when you're older. Look at, say, California, Prop 13. No one sells their homes there, and the housing market in California is through the roof. I mean, there's a variety of other reasons, but one of the main reasons is Prop 13. And I was like, you see it coming a mile away, and it's one of the things like Phil talked about. There's nothing you can really do about it because we're going to do like combat the voting block for the Democrat and the Republican parties.
Yeah, it's really the tension between liberty and democracy. You know, Peter Thiel wrote, like, I think a famous essay a few decades ago about how some of these problems, and he's, you know, coming at it from a libertarian perspective, right? Some of these problems are not going to be solved. You just can't, democracy like really is an obstacle. Yep. But I mean, you can't really extricate yourself from democracy. So that's kind of why I take issue with Thomas Massie. Like, I agree with where he's coming from on a lot of these fiscal issues, on, you know, foreign aid or whatever. But when he holds up something like the Big Beautiful Bill saying like, oh, look at all this, it's not cutting enough and whatever, it's like, you know, it's fair to say that he's grandstanding because, like, he's got to know that there's no chance that you're going to see these massive cuts that he's looking for.
Especially because the context was like Doge had just failed, basically. Like, sorry, Doge didn't really work. And so we just came out of, like, we created an entire government program whose entire job was to cut out excess spending.
Right.
They failed in a lot of ways. It's not their fault. They had, like, some of the best guys in Washington. It's just the Washington bureaucracy makes it impossible to make cuts to a lot of government programs. Mm-hmm. So we had just come off the heels of, like, realizing we're stuck in many ways. And then Thomas Massie was like, I'm going to, you know, throw a wrench in this, which I think ultimately was just
you just have to, profile. You know, politics is the art of the possible, right? Bismarck, I think, famously said that. And what that means at the end of the day is you have to understand, like, what can be accomplished and what can't. And if you're operating in a fantasy world where you think that you can solve certain you know, America, it's still possible we have a bright future, but certain problems, like at least in the short term, are not going to be solved. And that doesn't just apply to
Well, it'd be really nice if it was serious people talking about it. This problem with Massie was like, okay, I even agreed with a lot of the things he was saying. But again, when you start attacking, back to the original conversation we were having, the only politically viable vehicle to deliver on your ideas, and you start throwing your toys out of the pram and attacking him, it's like, yeah,
there's a way for him to get publicity, for himself. So.
And it's like, if he would just stay loyal to Trump and then that's what people don't realize how many, like, for example, Israel is his big thing. Do you think he was the only congressman to vote against aid to Israel? No, there was like 19 of them. But the reason you don't hear about them is because they're not like trying to grandstand. They're just staying loyal to Trump. They realize he's the most viable political vehicle for their ideas. They stay loyal, and then they push that issue within MAGA. That's how you do it. That's politics. That's how you operate within politics. But when you just want to be like a podcast,
nobody cares about how to operate within politics. At least not when they're, you know, launching tweet after tweet after tweet about how much they hate Donald Trump because he didn't deliver 100 million deportations in the first year.
Right.
Look, and that's something that I talk about on the show all the time. Like, nobody wants to talk about how the sausage is made. Nobody wants to talk about what's actually possible. And the point that you make that Donald Trump is the most viable political vehicle, that's something that is totally lost on most of the people that are PO'd. They didn't get exactly what they want. There is no better option.
Right? You know, Trump said, I got to teach you people how to win.
Yeah.
I mean, he went to the Libertarian convention, he was speaking to them, and they started booing him because he disagreed with them on a pet issue. And he said, okay, have fun getting your 2% in every election.
Yeah, it was funny.
Yeah.
I wonder if what happens is you get this corporate press, and eventually people start asking questions that the press won't answer. They refuse to answer. So people start saying, like, the media's lying about half the stuff, right? So the internet comes along, and, you know, you get the cool kids who are basically like, we want legitimate conversations, real authentic news and information. So this creates the rise of many podcasts. Then a bunch of grifters say, I'm going to do this too, but they're not good at it, so they just fake it and they lie and they make fake news. And now we're at a point where we are worse off because of social media. We had this early period where people were like, I know I turn the news and they're not telling me the truth. So we found alternative voices and honest people. But then you get this phenomenon. One thing I've brought up is that there are people, what they'll do is they'll take an episode of this show, they'll cut things that I say, then take an episode of the Young Turks, they'll put my head in one of those like graphic boxes next to Cenk Uygur, and they'll edit it to make it seem like we're debating each other on an issue. It's wild. And they'll get 50,000 views from doing it. And that's money. That's money.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking about right now, like, I was watching that Jubilee thing with Dave Rubin, and that Parker dude was on it. And like the arguments from that Parker get a job are basically like 8th grade textbook arguments, well prepared, but extremely rudimentary and misunderstanding the function of a society. But if you're not prepared for these basic questions or how to answer, like how to respond to these tactics, you will look foolish. And regular people don't react to sound arguments. They react to the appearance of sound arguments, which is why a lot of these online debaters are not genuinely trying to understand reality or solve problems. They're trying to make you look stupid. There's a lot of tactics in that. One of the most famous that people know about is the Gish Gallop. If you're debating someone, just say as many things as possible, as fast as possible, so they can't respond to you. And then if they try to, you can say, let me finish my point, you're interrupting me, so they can't actually address what you're saying. Another thing you can do is ask something that is clearly and obviously nonsensical. That's what Parker does. He asks something that doesn't have a functional answer or a deep answer. The example I'll give is the one that it went viral where Dave Rubin, he was asked by Parker, what is one metric by which you can say Trump has improved the economy? And Rubin makes the point that he's been in for a year and a half. The big, beautiful bill only just got signed, so the effects of that. And then all Parker does is just ask him the same question again. And when Dave doesn't have an immediate response, all of the liberals start laughing. The purpose of that clip is so that an ignorant liberal who doesn't understand the function of society sees them laughing at Rubin and then says, I don't want to be laughed at. Or for some people, they'll be like, he must be right because Dave didn't have an answer. Parker's intention is not to have a rational discussion to solve our problems. It's to talk quickly and ask you questions that don't have functional answers that you can't answer. So I don't necessarily agree with Dave Rubin because I think you can actually see with the elections the shift in the economies based on policy. But if the question is, what is an economic metric by which you think Trump has improved the country, that's a loaded question that misses the point of what the function of a country is. So to give you an example, I think the economy is bad. I think Trump's policies have ultimately resulted in some short-term losses that clearly comparable next to Joe Biden. But let's take a look at the big picture. To answer Parker's question for you, when he asked Dave Rubin this, one metric I can cite that has been improved for the economy is the decline in illegal immigration. And that was the second biggest issue in the 2024 election. Trump solved that problem. And the reason why it was such a big problem is that people were feeling economic pressure from it, so it overlapped with the economy. Now, you might say that the economy is worse off because of tariffs. Joe Biden flooded this country with illegal immigrants so he could get a short-term economic boost. So it looked like jobs were coming in, so it looked like economic activity was happening, but it was at the cost of social cohesion, which ultimately will be a detriment to this country. So the question, name one metric that by which Trump has improved this country, the economy, is a fake question. It preys upon the ignorance of an individual that thinks graph go up means country improves. So this is the problem we have with podcasts and social media, is that there are a lot of people that are no longer, and I'm not going to pretend like corporate press is good or anything like that, but the people need to get their information from well-reasoned arguments from honest actors who are trying to understand and might have reasonable disagreements and be respectful. Instead, what we have is these fake internet debates where everyone just acts like they're flabbergasted and the other person's a moron. And it's the worst, most cringe-inducing content. I can't stand it, but it's entertainment. So a lot of these people love it. And I'll just say it like this. We had Adam Conover on the show. I asked some questions about free speech in the UK and Islam. Tens of millions of views on that clip. I was getting blown up left and right. We had Luke Beasley on the show. I roasted him over January 6th. Goes massively viral. I'm not interested in having someone come on the show who is dumb as a box of rocks, who doesn't know what they're talking about, so that it looks like I'm smarter than them. I want to have people on the show that we're going to have an honest conversation about the functions of this country and our government and the future of this planet. The problem is that's the least entertaining form of political content. People just want to see me, whether I'm right or wrong, insult someone who they disagree with as a symbol of the things they feel oppressing them getting smacked down. That is going to result in social discohesion and ignorant people voting for dumb policies, which is what we had for some time.
Yeah. I mean, the ignorant people voting for dumb policies is basically standard procedure for the past at least 50 years, and it's causing massive problems, which is why I'm an advocate to limit the franchise as much as possible.
Yeah, I mean, people will always vote in their self-interest. Well, typically they'll vote in their self-interest. The problem is when there's massive gibs on the line.
Yeah.
And that muddies the waters. And then all you have to do is just say, well, I'll just keep the gravy train flowing. And then you're naturally going to absorb all
the biggest mistake is having illiterate people in politics.
When you say illiterate, do you mean actually can't read?
Figuratively illiterate.
Okay.
People who, it is a challenge, right? Imagine you go to, you're in the operating room and there's a group of surgeons and they say, we have to remove the appendix or this person will die. Let's put it up for a vote with the people that are standing out in the park. That's how our country functions. And, it's not going to work out very well. The worst thing is when a handful of the people come into the room and say, don't worry, I'm a surgeon. I went to school and got a degree, and they didn't, or the degree was from a fake school. Or Pfizer comes in and says, just agree with us. The appendix can stay. Give them this drug instead. You say, you got it, boss. We have a lot of problems in this country. I think what we need is strong moral fortitude, community. And, you find that more with the Trump side than any other side, unfortunately for the liberals. They seem to just, like the Libertarian Party is a good example of this as well. I describe the Libertarian Party as a collective of individuals that want something gross and illegal to be legal, so they form under one group of libertarianism, claiming that they believe in freedom, but it's really just, if you go to Libertarian Convention, you know what I'm talking about. There'll be some weird pervert guy being like, I think this weird thing should be legal. And I'm like, you're not a libertarian. You're just a creep. You're a weirdo. And that's why they nominated Chase Oliver, principled weirdo.
The Libertarian Party has many, many problems.
You saw they excised New Hampshire, right?
Yeah, the only party that was actually doing it.
The place that's having the most success for libertarian policy in the whole country, and they're just like, oh, we don't want to associate with you because you guys are mean.
I think if you are sincerely a libertarian, you should be thankful for the Libertarian Party, because that's just a corralling of all the most unserious people on planet Earth, and then all the libertarians who are actually somewhat serious just operate within the Republican Party.
Exactly.
Yep.
Because the Libertarian Party, like I said, you go to the convention and I'm looking at all these different groups and I'm like, so you're libertarian? I think raw milk should be legal. And I'm like, okay, what other policies are you just interested in? Well, I don't know.
Yeah, there's that classic clip, the classic clip where they're asking the panel their thoughts on driver's licenses.
Right.
And then one guy was like, I need a license to cook toast in my own damn toaster. And then Gary Johnson by the way, the only guy who's won an election on that stage, and he gets up and he says, I don't know, I'd like to see a little competency before someone drives, and he just gets
everyone starts booing. Yeah, it's such a good.
And the guy in the diaper comes on stage. It's it's just kind of fun, to be honest. If you do
you remember when
we tailgate at the next Libertarian?
They asked Austin Peterson, I think it was, what did they ask him, if you should, people in America should be allowed to sell heroin to children, and he goes no, and they booed him.
Very freezing.
I'm like, dude,
priorities.
This is what happens when you go to the Libertarian Convention. There's a guy, and you're like, what's your principal position? He goes, I want to sell heroin to kids. And you're like, I don't want that. I just don't want wars, and I want lower taxes. And it's like, well, then vote Republican, I guess. Yeah. But then you get wars. So there's nobody to vote for.
The whole the whole purpose of the Libertarian Convention is just to illustrate to the American people that their ideology is actually more incoherent than we previously thought.
Yeah. All right. Let's grab some of these comments, Rumble, Rant, Super Chats, and all that good stuff. Smash the like button. Share the show with everyone you've ever met. Join us at timcast.com because the uncensored portion of the show is coming up at 10 p.m. If you want to watch, you got to be a Rumble Premium member. But as a Timcast Discord member, you can call in, and all of your chats appear on the screen, for better or for worse. All right. Shade P says, brick by brick, relatively objective, says, proof we are living in crazy times. There is a man with hostages and an explosive in a Chase Bank right now, and it's not even tracking as national news, let alone as a headline. We did have this pulled up. We did. We know about it, but you are correct. We are desensitized, demoralized, and brain fried. There are much bigger stories right now, but in the 90s, this would have been the biggest story. It would be on every news station. They'd be like, this is crazy.
Yeah, America's low-key a GTA server now. I was following the news with Trump and the war and everything, and then I was scrolling Twitter, and there was an emu on the loose terrorizing Maryland. And I'm like, this is just awesome that no one cares about this.
We're in a simulation, man.
50 years ago, they had folk songs about him. He'd be a hero.
Yeah. Shnajberry says, I voted today, but I'm pessimistic. It's hard to vote when you see how brainwashed people are. Voting based on race instead of policies. Let's go Chad or Hilton. Did you see that? Remember that video of the guy who asks the black woman at the Pride Parade when she transitioned? And she's like, I'm a woman. He's like, no, I know. Yeah, you're a woman. But like, how was it transitioning for you? And she goes, you think I'm a man? And he goes, no, you're a woman. Like, we totally support you. I get it. Like, that was an epic troll. He has another one where it's like an Indian guy, and he's interviewing him in LA, and he's like, so who are you voting for? And, or was it LA? Who was it? I think it was LA. I don't know. He asked who he's voting. Yeah, it's LA. And he's like, Nithya Raman. And he's like, oh, why are you voting for her? And he goes, well, she's Indian, and he was Indian. And he's like, oh, okay, cool. But there are a lot of people that, like they'll vote for Trump, they'll vote for Spencer Pratt. And he's like, yeah. He's like, how do you feel about that? He's like, I don't know, not very good. And he goes, well, a lot of these people are only voting for him because he's white. And then he goes, yeah, for sure. And he goes like, what do you think about that? And he's like, well, I think it's bad, And he's like, yeah, voting for someone based on their race is bad, right? And he's like, yeah. And I'm just like, this is what you get.
Yeah, literally.
The tribe
vote counts as much as ours.
What's funny is that like the white racial awakening happened in the 2010s maybe, and it was split in the two directions, with the left white people being like, man, white people suck, and the right-leaning white people being like, stop ragging on white people, and then also white nationalists. But it's going to be a funny wake-up call, or I don't even know if it'll be a wake-up call, to white people when they're getting stabbed by an 8-inch ceremonial blade and then called the oppressor.
Yeah, literally. I mean, I was making the point on Twitter is, the main difference here obviously is the United States doesn't have walkability. And, this is like people are very concerned about the fact that America doesn't have walkable cities. But the upside is the Sikhs can't get to us with the ceremonial knives. But the downside is they use their ceremonial trucks to kill us now. It's a huge problem. And there's actually like a degree of seriousness to that because, again, same thing happens after that. Massive cover up. They all join together, make sure that no one in the DOT hears about this. It's a huge problem. And yeah, like on your point of, the way people are interpreting it. I mean, there was the data coming out that the white births have gone up.
Mm-hmm.
And, a lot of people are saying, well, this is a good thing. You want
welcome.
to see like the core American population just like go away forever. Like, I think most honest people can admit that would be a little sad. But the left-wing reaction from left-wing white people, they were just like, this is great news. Or they were like really upset because they were like, it was great news that we were declining. And they asked one girl who was like saying, well, I can't wait for whites to like disappear. And she was white, and they're like, well, what about you? And she said, I would just kill myself. And I'm like, fair enough. She's committed to the bit, but that also like kind of demonstrates that it is suicidal, ultimately.
Suicidal empathy.
Indeed, man. All right. We got this. John Rambo says, many millennials who didn't serve rode the coattails of industrial war machine. Life was good. Easy. Yeah, I don't know. When I was 22, I was homeless, sleeping on floors. The economy had crashed. There were no jobs. I remember I went to apply to be a dishwasher at a small diner in Chicago, and I had this like single sheet printed out resume. I was how old was I? I was 22, and standing in front of me was a guy in a suit with a briefcase, and there's the counter, and I'm like, I don't know what he's doing. He walks up, and I hear him say, I'm looking to apply for the dishwasher position, and he puts his briefcase down, opens it up, hands a resume, and I just turned around and walked out.
Yeah.
But it was funny because the response I got from everyone was being like, dude, there's no way they were going to hire that guy to be a dishwasher. They were going to hire you, a young man looking for minimum wage job to wash dishes. And I was like, yeah, but it wasn't just about that. It was just like kind of hopelessness.
Blackpilling to see someone that, kind of distinguished. Yeah, I mean, millennials, did we have it super easy? I mean, I guess I don't actually know. We had the 2008 financial crisis, and that hit for me. I'm 37. I was what, like 18 or so then. So it's kind of like a rough time to have the economy just kind of take a turn for the worse.
Yeah.
But Zoomers had COVID, so it's not that I'm bashing, Gen Z or anything.
Yeah, but millennials had COVID. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we did too. I mean, they had it at a younger, more formative time. But
by the way, that was 6 years ago.
I know. Well, yeah, COVID hit my freshman year of college, but like, I did get some benefits from it. Like when all the school was at home, like you really didn't have to do very much work.
Okay, so I take that back. Gen Z,
Yeah,
they had it easy because of
and
COVID.
like 1 point for the Zoomers
I
as far as
disagree.
like that we do
joking,
have a bit of agility or able to navigate this is like we can just like scam each other. Like that's kind of the nice thing. Is, like Zoomers are all just scamming each other all the time.
My daughter is going to be doing like hard labor. She's going to be like tending to the chickens. She's going to be planting vegetables. She's going to be moving. She's going to be doing farm work. And it is not good for a person in school or for a child to not do work, to sit around.
Sure.
Especially during formative years. So I say that with somewhat a bit of facetiousness, but I fully expect to have my daughter doing chores and doing work for everything. There will be no snowplow parenting. It's going to be like, if you want something, you got to earn it. Do the work. No sitting around.
And I think that's like one of the biggest white pills, honestly, is the fact that every single new parent that I'm speaking to, like almost bar none, has said something similar as far as like, no, my children will not have iPads. My children will like learn to work. They'll learn to earn things. And I'm like, every single new parent, just in the last 3 years, is saying something along those lines. That actually gives me a lot of hope for the generation coming up right now.
You know, what we're doing is, like I said, is we have a bomb shelter where we're going to live for 30 years, pretending the year is 1990. And then we're going to emerge after the fact, having my daughter only lived the natural 90s childhood the way I did, which was the perfect childhood. Fight me.
Yeah, I mean, because some people like do have this bit of helplessness. And like, well, what are you gonna do? I'm like, that's kind of one of the nice things about how like the world we're in is you still like you don't have to put again TVs on your fridges. Like you can just you can still live like an analog lifestyle. Like no one's forcing you to not do so. And I think the only thing that maybe you need to have to operate in the modern world is like some level of smartphone. Beyond that, like at your house, you have total control over how much internet there is in your house, et cetera, et cetera.
All right, what do we got here? We got Fool's Journey. He says, a religare religion to tie back, to bind, to thwart from further progress. Gubermare plus mens is government, mind control. Both were rendered unto man to make us self-police. Interesting. D. Elders, as a simple example of the difference of having a kid is the scene in Half-Blood Prince when Lily in her last moments tells Harry she and James love Harry. As a parent, that rips your heart out. For sure, but what kind of took it away from me is how Voldemort was like dumb as a box of rocks. You know, like you see that meme where it's like how awful of a villain was Voldemort. He couldn't kill a baby. It's like you can pick it up and drop it. They're fragile.
Yeah.
It's like, imagine if Voldemort was just like, this is the baby.
Yeah.
Don't. Okay, problem solved. Instead, he's like, oh, and then like blows up and turns into smoke or something. I guess.
I'm not clued in on the Harry Potter lore. I don't think I've ever seen a Harry Potter movie.
I mean, I got to be honest. Harry Potter is one of the dumbest stories ever. It makes literally no sense, but it was fun as a kid reading it because you're a kid reading a dumb book. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, there's so much in Harry Potter that is just really dumb and makes literally no sense. But J.K. Rowling, she made great IP. She, been very popular. But there's just so many holes.
Well, it became like
apparition in the Flu Network coexisting makes no sense. And then in the later movies, because like teleporting basically exists, no one's using Flu Network. And it's like 100 years ago, everybody just teleported wherever they want to go. But in the future, everybody has to travel through chimneys.
There's a lot of stuff like that. Yeah, I liked the books as a kid growing up, like reading them in elementary school. And with the girl I was seeing, we watched the movies, like a few years ago. And I was like, man, I can't believe I was into this. This is like really bad. And it's like a lot of small stuff like that you notice now, maybe not so much as a kid, but also just every book or every movie is like kind of the same thing. Like, you in the last book, they defeated like Voldemort's latest manifestation or whatever. Yeah. Then like, okay, back to school. And then like, exactly what's going to happen. Like Voldemort's going to like find some new way to get back. And it's like, they did like 10 books of that or something.
Not to mention the Marauders map breaks the whole series completely. Like, so the Marauders map is invented, I guess, by like Sirius Black and James Potter, whatever. Or they have it for some reason. I don't know. I think they made it, and it reveals the names of everybody in Hogwarts walking around, and then it's Fred Weasley and what's his twin brother, Bill? No, Bill was the older brother.
Ron?
No, Ron was the main character with Harry, but the twin brothers, they have the map. I guess they give it to Harry, and it's like, you never noticed that your 11-year-old brother was sleeping with a guy? Like, the plot is Harry's like, it doesn't work anyway because there's a name of someone I know to be dead. It was like Peter Pettigrew, and he's like, how could that be true, Harry? And then that's how they figure out that Peter Pettigrew never died. And it's like, so, Ron's brothers are like looking at the map and they're like, well, there's that guy sleeping with our 11-year-old brother again. So whatever, I guess.
Yeah, I noticed it kind of became like star signs for Reddit atheists because they'd be like, oh, I'm a Gryffindor. And like, it's so me. That is so me to a T. It's unbelievable.
All right. Let's grab some more. We got Captain Crispy says, I've been listening to you for years. I just want to support you guys and let you know I appreciate all the hard work. Appreciate it, good sir. Always, always appreciated. Let's see what else we got here in the old Super Chats. 46 Sprite says, just saw Steyer Santa Ana, he's major selling point, stopping Trump's DHS power. I asked his thoughts on Spencer and Bianco after his limpy handshake. He said Spencer was a weird dude and Bianco was a wasted vote. Then I said I got Bianco seeking tokens. What, seeking tokens?
Tokens.
What is that?
Interesting.
No idea.
You know, I know somebody, I'm not going to put her on blast, but she made a video campaigning for Nithya Raman. And in it, she touted all the good things that Nithya Raman has done in like her career and her job. And I said, okay. And then she just insulted Spencer Pratt. And I was like, you know, I would have respected this infinitely more if you actually brought up Spencer Pratt's arguments. If your argument against Spencer Pratt is he has no public administration experience, you can make a legitimate argument by saying, here's why I like Nithya Raman. She's on the city council. She's made proposals, blah, 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 whatever your argument may be. I don't like her. I think her proposals are bad. But if you made that argument, and then you said, Spencer Pratt has legitimate grievances. His house burned down. He is upset, and rightly so. But that will not translate into functional governance. That would be a respectable argument. Now, humbly, I disagree. I think change is a good thing. But what I don't respect is that when someone just lies about what Spencer Pratt is doing and why he's doing it. Just tell me the truth. Give me your argument. I'll consider it. This is politics. Lie, cheat, and steal for power. That's what people do.
Consistently.
Indeed. All right. Marussia says, what's not being talked about in NJ is how Muslims are slowly taking over communities like Patterson, even displacing other ethnic enclaves such as Koreans in Fort Lee. I'm glad ICE are in Newark, but the issue is everywhere.
Yeah, Patterson's rough.
But I'm not worried about the Koreans because you know what happens when they get surrounded and they go on their rooftops.
Yeah.
It's true. Very true.
They do it.
We had a day off in Dearborn when we on the tour, and it was the worst day off of the tour.
Yeah, you forgot your prayer rug.
Yeah, pretty rough.
Yeah, happens.
All right, let's see what we got here. All right. Texas Sister says, for women with bad menstrual problems, that's what paid sick time and vacation time is for. I have migraines and have for years had to take all my sick time and vacation time. I just literally don't care. I'm sorry. Like, I'm not going to play some stupid game. Here's the nature of reality. If a woman and a man apply for the same job and the woman says, my hoo-hoo hurts and I need time off from work, they'll say, okay, the position's been filled. That's it. And there's going to be a guy he's going to be like, my hoo-hoo only hurts if it gets kicked. And they'll be like, just don't kick it and you can keep working, right? Yeah, no sick time. Welcome aboard.
Well, but no one talks about the sperm cramps. I mean, I think we can all at this table attest to the sperm cramps.
It's just that men don't bitch about it.
We don't complain about it.
That's right.
It's brutal, but I get really bad ones.
It feels like barbed wire wrapped around my junk, twisted. And one day I was at a bodega buying bread, and I woke up with surrounded by medics asking me if I was pregnant.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because my sperm cramps were so bad.
It's bad, but yeah, you don't see us going on and on.
It's just that men are so strong they never bring it up.
What it is.
If it's not a cold, it doesn't hurt us.
I do want to see Alex Stein do a press conference about eating Taco Bell and complaining about how he needs extra time off because he likes to eat Taco Bell every month.
That's kind of valid, to be fair.
No, my argument is this, before we go to the uncensored portion. You don't get to simultaneously argue that, one, men and women are equal. Two, that women deserve extra paid time off because they're not equal. Three, that anybody, whether they have a uterus or otherwise, can be a woman. You don't get to argue these things at the same time. So it's like women should okay, I'll tell you what. If I'm a guy and I'm in California and they pass that law, I'm just going to be like, put me down as a woman. I get 3 days off extra per month, right? If you say how can you have sex-based protections when you claim anyone can identify with any sex? So how can you claim women should get extra paid time off when a guy can just say he's a woman and get paid time off? It's just nonsense. We're going to go to the uncensored portion of the show at rumble.com/Timcast IRL. So smash the like button, share the show with everyone you've ever met in your life. Join us at timcast.com. You can follow me, of course, at Timcast everywhere. Sir, would you like to shout anything out?
Yeah, if people want to follow me at Restore Order USA on Twitter, I'm there. And they can go to patrickcasey.com to find my podcast. Thank you.
Yeah, you can follow me on X and Instagram at Real Tate Brown. And I'll be here tomorrow on Rumble at noon for the Timcast Daily News Live. And I am a Restoring Order subscribers. So make sure you guys go check out Patrick. He does excellent work. I think he's just consistently right about everything. So if you ever feel like you haven't quite made your mind up on an issue, I'd recommend just going over there and getting corrected.
Solid advice. I am Phil That Remains on Twix. The band is All That Remains. You can check out our music on Apple Music, Amazon Music, Pandora, YouTube, Spotify, and Deezer. We are playing Warped Tour on, I believe it's June 14th. It's a Sunday here in D.C., so you can get your tickets at warptour.com, or I think you can get them at allthatremainsonline.com too. Don't forget, the left lane is for crime. Carter.
That's so sick, man. Warped Tour is legit. I'm Carter Banks. You can follow me at Carter Banks everywhere, at Carter Banks Official everywhere else. Follow the label at Trash House Records on YouTube. Let's go to the after show.
We'll see you all over at rumble.com/TimcastIRL in about 30 seconds. Thanks for hanging out.